Welcome to this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Long Beach Unified. Ms. Craighill, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, please rise.
Thank you so much. We welcome those who are here for purposes of addressing the board at the proper time in the order of their request. If you wish to speak during the meeting, please fill out a form indicating your name and the agenda item you wish to address. You may also make a request to give testimony on an item not listed for discussion today. However, full discussion on any items not listed on the agenda will have to be delayed until such a time as the item can be publicly posted in advance as a regular agenda item. If you wish to ask questions, please address them to the chair and not to individual members of the board or staff. The board met earlier in closed session today regarding matters listed on the agenda and took the following actions. The board approved a retirement agreement and general release with a permanent certificated teacher resolving all claims between the parties and providing for consideration. The vote was 4-0, with board members Kerr, Craighead, Benitez, and Miller participating in the vote. The board also adopted Resolution 101922-E, immediately suspending without pay a permanent certificated employee. The vote was 4-0, with board members Kerr, Craighead, Benitez, and Miller participating in the vote. Item 8, call for agenda items for separate action, adoption of the agenda as posted.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Introduction of our student board member, Dario Usman from Cabrillo High School. Welcome to the board meeting. How about you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what's going on at Cabrillo.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dario Usman. Good evening, board members, President Kerr, Superintendent Dr. Baker, and the Long Beach community. My name is Dario Makai Usman, and I'm in the Cabrillo Engineering and Design pathway. I am a member of School Site Council, SDM, and the ASB president. I'm here to share all about the wonderful things happening at Cabrillo. But first, I will let you know a little about myself and how I came to choose Cabrillo as the Long Beach high school I would attend. I live in North Long Beach, but did the school of choice process. My brother and I went to Bixby, then to Marshall Academy, and everyone assumed that I would go to another high school in that area, but nope. I chose to go to Cabrillo. When I went to the choice fair 4 years ago and met the CED pathway teacher, Mr. Fisher, that's when I decided Cabrillo, and specifically CED, was the school and pathway for me. I knew CED would be perfect because I wanted engineering, and I also wanted the big high school sports, events, and activities. Cabrillo definitely won me over with its amazing CED presentation. I've never been more happy to have met the CED lead teacher, Mr. Fisher, and have him keep his promise of making sure I would love Cabrillo and the engineering program. Cabrillo and its amazing engineering program has prepared me for college and university and majoring in engineering. Last year, through CED, I got to experience some incredible opportunities like going on engineering-related field trips, talks, and visits to colleges and universities. I was even able to compete as part of the Cabrillo's first robotics team. CD isn't the only amazing program at Cabrillo. We also have AGL, the Academy of Global Logistics, SACMA, with a focus on digital tech, digital arts and design, and CalJ, our Academy of Law and Justice. All the different pathways at Cabrillo, the teachers, and our counselors and staff members at Cabrillo are part of the reason that makes Cabrillo the success in the West. If you would like to learn more, come to the Choice Fair on November 5th, which is at Cabrillo this year, to learn more. Our school year has just started, and we have so much going on and so much planned for this year. Our homecoming week is coming up next week. This year, we are for the second year having our homecoming fair open to the community on October 27th, and I would like to extend an invitation to the board and particularly Mr. Miller, to join us and see all the groups, and clubs, see that all our groups and clubs have to offer. ASB has also added our first ever homecoming dance, which we are all super excited about. I'd like to also share that to open up the school year, our Cabrillo's student equity team was part of the opening staff and faculty meeting and led staff in focusing on uplifting and supporting our Black and LGBTQ+ students throughout the school year. ASB in particular has started this year with Welcome Week, where ASB gave out goodies to our school. We've had our Pathway Expectations Assemblies for all of our students. We've had our Hispanic Heritage Rally, where we had a huge turnout and all of our campus participated in dancing. We've also had our exciting Club Rush. The Jag Den, through RAP, held Cabrillo's Parent Welcome Night Spaghetti Dinner to invite parents to get to know some of our amazing parent and student staff support. We've had a suicide prevention rally because we all know high school life in these times has gotten harder. Our Cabrillo Student Wellness Center has had lots of activities to help all of our students feel included. We've had our back to school night just last week, and we've had our amazing Cabrillo marching band participate in its first competition since COVID. We placed first in our division and first place in color guard. When I was running for ASB president, I said I wanted to bring fun to our campus for all of our students to feel Cabrillo is their family and their home. So no one feels left out, and I've got big plans, and I'm especially going to work hard to make sure all of our students, especially our seniors, class of 2023, have the best school year. Over the summer, Cabrillo students were asked to be interviewed for the Embracing Excellence and Equity District video. That was published on August 23rd, and I hope everyone has had the opportunity to see it, but if not, there's a lot of good in that quick 4-minute video. One of my favorite things that was said in that video was from Deputy Superintendent Tiffany Brown. And I quote, "When we focus on students who have not been historically well served in our system, we are in turn strengthening the system for everybody. We ask our students, and when we listen to what they say, and when we act with what they say, we do not go wrong for them. What we really know is that the strength in our system is that when we ask them and when we listen to them, we are a much better, more diverse, more represented system than we would ever have been without their voice." This is what we are doing at Cabrillo, looking at our students and working to meet their needs. As a member and former vice chair of School Site Council, we voted unanimously to allocate Title I funds to support our homeless students, who make up 10% of our student body, by purchasing materials and supplies that they need for school, including backpacks, school supplies, toiletries, and more. This is a commitment that we are making to ensure every student has access to what they need. We, the students, are the future, so keep listening to our voices, ideas, expectations, and when I get invited back at the end of this year, I'll be reporting on all the amazing things Cabrillo has done to make our school a fun place to learn and grow our minds. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Dario. I know we saw some folks that you brought with us. Do you want to introduce us to your supporters who are out there?
Yes, I have my mother here today, my little brother, and my father, my ASB director, and my principal, Dr. Poffenberger.
Well, you are an incredible representation of your school and your family, so thanks for being with us. Colleagues, any questions for Dario before he potentially heads out?
I just wanted to send you some more flowers, man. I don't know if you hit literally every fantastic topic, man.
Thank you.
So we just thank you for presenting and representing Cabrillo well.
Thanks,
man.
I would ask Mr. Miller if that's a commitment to go to Cabrillo.
Of course, but actually, November, I'm having surgery. I might miss it, but anyway.
He can pick one of us to serve as proxy.
There we go. Yeah, that's what
You're all welcome to come.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Enjoy homecoming week next week. I know it's always filled with fun activities. So you're more than welcome to stay and listen to the meeting, but I also understand it's a school night. So if you want to head out, you're welcome to do that as well. But thank you so much for being here, and to your supporters for coming out as well. Thank you. This is the time tonight set aside for public hearings regarding the following. Our first public hearing is initial reopener bargaining proposals from the Teachers Association of Long Beach K-12 and CDC Head Start to the Long Beach Unified School District. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing none, I declare that hearing closed. Our second hearing tonight is the initial bargaining proposals from the Long Beach Unified School District to the Teachers Association of Long Beach K-12 and CDC Head Start. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing none, I declare the hearing closed. Our third hearing today, Resolution 101922-A, to update statutory school fees imposed on new residential and commercial/industrial development projects pursuant to Education Code Section 17620 and Government Code Section 65995. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing none, I declare the hearing closed. And our fourth and last hearing today is our Williams textbook sufficiency. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing none, I declare the hearing closed. All right, recognitions and acknowledgements. Recognition of our GATE teachers. Dr. Kale, this is a great one.
All right. Well, last night I had the opportunity, along with several other folks, including Board President Kerr and Board Vice President Craighead, to attend our GATE Portfolio Night. And that was featuring our newly certified GATE teachers who shared their work with us. It was a really inspiring night. We got to hear stories of their learning. We saw photos of their kids in action. We saw samples of student work. And it showed kids who were socially, cognitively, and physically engaged in their learning and being pushed to really high levels. So joining us tonight to introduce our newly certified GATE teachers is Gerlin Montiel. Gerlin has been leading the work in the GATE office this year, while also providing the professional development to these teachers so that they could attain their certification. So welcome, Gerlin.
Thank you, Dr. Kale. Good evening, President Kerr, board members, Superintendent Baker, executive staff, colleagues, and our community. Tonight, I am here to recognize and congratulate the hard work and collaborative nature of our teachers who have completed the criteria towards obtaining their LBUSD GATE certificate in continued pursuit of equity and excellence within their classrooms. Throughout this process, the teachers participated in a minimum of 45 hours of professional development looking at best practices based on culturally relevant and responsive learning that included intense learning cycles, lesson creation developed from student profiles, collaboration, and lots of cycles of peer feedback and critique. These teachers have truly experienced the positive impact of producing better lessons together that continue to align with the content standards and further build on their students' assets in providing challenge for their gifted and advanced learners while also developing talent among all their students. You will find that students in all of their classrooms often lose track of time and are excited to come back to another day of learning. They are constantly engaged during class and continue to seek multiple perspectives as a result of refining, adjusting, proving, and disproving their understanding around a concept. They have developed the ability to ask intuitive questions in order to continue cultivating their own path of learning. I remember this process quite well, being right here, as a previous middle school teacher, and now I get to experience it as a coach working alongside these teachers. And while the process is very intense, it is also deeply rewarding to see the difference it makes with each student and their own individualized and personalized learning. The GATE office would not at all be able to provide this opportunity without the support of our amazing lead GATE teachers from across the district who opened up their classrooms to provide professional development and models of implementation using the GATE strategies. So I want to extend a sincere thank you to Carolyn Moscato, Christine Hankins, Hartley Rappaport, Jolene Fournier Arredondo, and Julianne Helsley. I'd also like to extend a gratitude of appreciation to my colleagues in OCIPD who are always available to support us as we work on differentiating the curriculum, along with a very special thank you to our former GATE coordinators who are here tonight, Liz Turner and Dr. Pam Levitt. With us tonight are the 6 teachers who have earned their GATE certificate this year, along with their families. Their teachers have shown true grit, dedication, and devotion. Teachers, please come forward to receive your certificate as I announce each of you by name. So let's start with Allison Scott. Amy Bond. Maria Del Carmen Auditat. Marissa Reese. Pauline Auk. And lastly, Savannah Thomason. I do hope that at some point this year, you will find some time in your schedule to visit these classrooms and these teachers and actually experience what they've been able to do with their students. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. We would love to have y'all come up to the front so we can congratulate you and take a picture together, if that's okay. So come on up. Okay, Ms. Craighead, you wanted to make a few comments.
I do. I was able to attend the GATE portfolio event last night, and one of the things that really came through was the enthusiasm that you teachers have, and it's so refreshing, it's so inspiring to see how committed you are to your craft that voluntarily, it's a 45-hour professional development program with the additional lesson planning and everything else that you do. So it's much more than that 45 hours of professional development. And you all have this energy and this light that you are extending to the kids. It's so exciting. I really encourage all of us staff, especially my colleagues, to go and visit your classrooms because the lessons, just the amount of collaboration between the students and the teachers recognizing in the students that they are taking control of their own learning, that type of thing. I think Maria, maybe it was you in your classroom where the kids didn't want to finish when you were done with a certain project or lesson. They weren't done and they were asking for more time to do work. Your students were asking for more work. I just think that's amazing. But that was kind of the case, it sounded like, with all the, in all the classrooms. And it's so wonderful to see the commitment and really the joy that you're bringing to your students. And I know your students are going to do well because of it. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you as well. Our kiddos are so lucky to have you and have the commitment and the belief that you have in them. And I was so honored to see, you couldn't see my face yesterday, but listening intently and cheering you on during your lessons, and that you took pieces of things that you're passionate about and brought it to the classroom and made them see them in ways that made them passionate about it, whether it was stories or history. And that you represent schools from all around the district. And I know some of you do not teach technically GATE-identified classes. You teach classes of students of all levels, and how excited you are to bring those practices that we know are great for all students to every kid in your classroom. So thank you so much for your dedication, for the extra hours that you've put in over the last hard couple of years. I'm really grateful, and our students are really lucky to have you. So thanks for coming out tonight. You're welcome to stay as long as you want for the business meeting, but understand if you want to go celebrate. Thank you. So we have a student, staff, and school recognition video, I believe. Mr. Itzen.
My name is Charles Lomack, and I'm a college and career specialist with the district. I work with the Youth Employment Network under the support of the Office of Student Support Services, and I've been with the district for close to 8 years now. The Youth Employment Network is a great opportunity for students to learn more about themselves in the world of employment. So we teach them how to create professional resumes, how to ace an interview, to practice self-determination skills, self-advocacy, and we connect them with real-world experiences, whether through a paid internship, a part-time job, or a volunteer opportunity that allows them to learn more about the field that they're interested in. Working at Long Beach Unified, especially in this capacity, to kind of live vicariously through each student and their dreams is very rewarding. We have the opportunity not only to help them with their goals, but to see them work towards it and the joy that they get as a result. We're always trying to do better for the sake of the students and their success after they leave our district.
We have great people. We really do. I saw Dr. Simon taking pictures of her people. All right, we're going to move on to public testimony on items listed on the agenda. Tonight we have 3. Our first speaker is Jerlene Tatum. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Jerlene Tatum, parent, alumni of LBUSD schools, and I have no notes, which is kind of dangerous. I have no notes. Tonight, you are going to be discussing Black student achievement, and I'm aware that you will be highlighting some of the wins that have taken place over the last year. Yet I came today, and I just would like to ask for those who are here to support Black students, can you please stand? I don't think they ever all made it in here. For the last several years, I've been working with multiple organizations on behalf of Black students, Children's Defense Fund, Public Advocates, and our newest partner, Innovation in Public Schools, to make sure that the needs of Black students are being met in our district. This past year, I had an opportunity to serve on the Black Student Achievement Initiative advisory group, which was new to the district, yet there were some things where you all fell short. And part of it was the communication and specifically in the last several months, the messaging about what's next. And so I'm here today as a parent, I'm here today as a partner, here with others that are support of Black students. We are partners in this. We're not enemies and we're not appendages. So please do not treat us as so. And when you get to the conversation about engagement, can you please ensure that when you engage us, you believe that we are worthy of being engaged with, because we have been questioned on our value and our worth at the table. And I want to remind everyone, I'm a parent, I have children. No children, no school district. No children, no school district. No parents, no children, no school district. So we're customers and clients, and we're ready to sit at the table again and do this to make sure that we're able to ensure that our Black students and all of our students' needs are being met, because they're the future, and I'm thinking about who's going to take care of me when I get old. So I want to ensure that they get the best education that they can now. So I look forward to the presentations from staff, since today is going to be a learning opportunity, since the communication came to a halt several months ago. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Kim Tabari. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello to the gallery as well. So I've been here a couple of times, and I don't have anything written down other than a couple of bullet points, but I want to start with a phrase that I was reminded of this weekend at a district event: soft on people, hard on systems. And I'm holding this close, right? Juxtaposition with the realization that many of the folks around this table in this room are representing these very systems. Soft on people, hard on systems. But sometimes the two intersect. You are the system. You are the people that oversee the system, right? So, as Jerlene mentioned, there's been a lot of promises, many of them broken, a lot of what it feels like gaslighting to me, not a ton of conversation, not a ton of transparency, not a ton of visible action. I know that it's coming. But I'm here, cautiously optimistic. I am here to build, I am here to bridge, and I am here to belong to this community. So really speaking on behalf of the 8,000 plus Black students in the district, right? They are in desperate need of academic excellence. So I just want to end by saying Black students matter. Black students matter. Black students matter. I do not want to wait another 10 years for academic excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Covington.
All right. Good afternoon, school board members and district staff. My name is Christopher Covington. My pronouns are they and he. I am joining today as a member and lead person for the Safer LBUSD campaign. I'm coming today to remind you, or specifically to speak on the topic of Black student achievement. Earlier this year, a national study came out and showed that test scores have been proven to be lower for school sites that have increased police presence on their campuses, specifically for Black students and students of color. And so as a member of the Safer LBUSD campaign, we've all presented a while back, and I want to come and remind you all that this is something that we're working towards, removing school police officers from our campuses and from the district, and replacing that with specific support resources and academic supports. And so I'm calling on you all to make this a priority. Make Black students a priority for the district. We talk about excellence and equity, and in order to do that, Black students need to be the priority in this district. Why? Because when Black students succeed, all students succeed. And that's the investment that we want to see from this district. And so with that, we are asking you to invest in funding for Black student achievement, staffing on campuses, and as well as services on campus to create community and relationship center schools. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. We have no more items, speakers on agenda items, so we'll move to public testimony on items not listed on the agenda. Our first speaker is Armando Vasquez Ramos. Welcome.
members of the board. Good afternoon. I am here to speak on an item that I'm not sure if everybody is aware of. This is regarding the property located at 601 to 621 Golden Avenue in Dr. Benitez district, directly adjacent to Edison Elementary School, and also adjacent to Chavez Park on the north side. And I want to read a letter into the record that is in opposition to a distillery that's been rubber stamped by the City Council and Development Services for putting a distillery steps away from Edison Elementary. This is a letter to the Planning Department, and it states our opposition. My name is Armando Vasquez Ramos. I'm with the California-Mexico Studies Center, and we formally request that the proposed project require an administrative use application for the proposed distillery and tasting room at 601 to 621 Golden Avenue, and be referred to the Planning Commission, and this request is consistent with the discretionary review responsibilities of the zoning administrator per Title 21 Zoning, Chapter 21.21, regarding administrative procedures, Division 5 appeals. This request is warranted based on the following. The proposed project at 18,708 square feet is 3 times the gross floor area currently allowed by the city's existing zoning that fast tracks the opening of new distilleries in the city. This zoning requirement is not enforced for reasons unknown in the Planning Bureau's administrative land use process, and has resulted in an absence of any public notice and of any public knowledge of its potential negative environmental impacts. The project requires a full CEQA analysis to identify potential significant cumulative environmental impacts related to traffic and circulation, public safety, air quality, hazardous materials, and waste present on the site, and compatibility with the adjacent land uses and public facilities, namely Edison Elementary and Chavez Elementary Schools. Very nearby are also Chavez and Drake Parks in the surrounding neighborhoods. The existing zoning, which is PD 30 for this project site, is inconsistent with and in direct conflict with the city's adopted general plan for open space, and exists as a remnant parcel with no relationship to the immediate surrounding areas. There's a significant community opposition for this project based on the potential cumulative negative environmental impacts that it will have on the adjacent elementary schools as well as on the parkland and surrounding residential neighborhoods. In addition to the negative effect of rapid gentrification in this area that has historically been consistent with underserved neighborhoods, that one in particular. So we're reading this into the record, and we'll submit it for the record because it's something that we see coming down the pipe that people seem to act like they don't know what's happening, and that's exactly what it is right here. So thank you.
Thank you. You could give that to Letitia.
Will do.
That'd be great. Thank you. Dr. Benitez?
Dr. Baker, is this something that our district, I know we can't speak directly to the comment, but it's concerning to hear about a distillery next to one of our schools. So wondering if there will be some follow-up with city officials?
Sure. Our facilities department is already in connection with the city and working on behalf of the district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Salazar. Welcome.
Thank you. Excuse me. Madam Chair and members of the board, my name is David Salazar, and I'm a resident of District 5, and I represent the Revitalization and Gentrification Coalition. We are adamantly opposed to the proposed distillery and bar at 601 Golden Avenue, not only because of the applicant's patronizing and gross motivation to help accelerate the gentrification of West Long Beach, which he has stated, but also because it represents a clear failure of city government and political leadership for adopting a zoning ordinance and municipal code that allows such as incompatible and environmentally harmful use directly across the street from Edison Elementary School and Cesar Chavez Park. There's no consideration for the health and safety of our young children and families by having alcohol manufactured and consumed during and after school hours. This is unacceptable. Let's be clear, a distillery and a bar proposed directly to an elementary school in a park in a residential neighborhood on the east side of town would be unheard of. Where's the equity when it comes to low-income, underserved Latino communities? It's nowhere to be found. The school board now has the responsibility, we believe, to address this issue in a forthright manner and oppose this project and join in the opposition. The comment that you made about the facilities folks looking into the project, this is really a political issue. It's not a facilities issue. It's really an issue for the board to take on, because to propose a distillery and a bar directly across the street from an elementary school is just preposterous. So we hope that you hear us today. We're in the process of organizing a big movement against this distillery. It reeks of gentrification. It reeks of patronizing behavior by an outside, basically a carpetbagger coming from outside of town, coming into the neighborhood and believing that he's going to take advantage of a low-income Latino neighborhood. It's not going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our next speaker is Matt Simon.
Hi, my name is Matt Simon. I'm a poly parent. I'm also the Booster Club president for the baseball team, and I've also I'm a local architect. I'm right down here on Pacific Avenue, and a longtime board member for Boys and Girls Clubs of Long Beach. So I hope I can be as eloquent as all the previous speakers have been. So I'm actually here to talk about an issue that I need your help with, which is a baseball scoreboard at Poly High. It's interesting that Jordan doesn't have one, Cabrillo doesn't have one, and Poly doesn't have one, but Wilson's is getting replaced this year. So we started this process 2 years ago. I have a formal timeline. I have the communications that I've dealt with certain people within the district, and I started that 2 years ago, and we are still at ground zero. It's fully paid for by an anonymous donor that wants to dedicate it as the Tony Gwynn Field in honor of the class of 2020 because they lost their season, excuse me, to COVID. And it's also dedicated to Chase Utley, who actually purchased a scoreboard with his own money 15 plus years ago, and it got put in a trailer, and the district could never get it up, so it rotted. So we've been unable to get Chase back down to the school for really anything due to that specific subject. So again, I've started this process. I'm an architect, designed it, professionally stamped it, had a structural engineer engineer it. That apparently is not good enough. It has to go through DSA approval, which is a 6 to 12 month process. Not sure why a scoreboard is. They're interpreting it as a school addition. My argument is not, and I think we could find a way around this, but I need some help. I did discuss this with Alan Rising. He's kind of stuck within his system. Need some help. So you guys know, just a couple of facts. You have 3 of the top schools in your jurisdiction for baseball for the country. Number 6 in the country, Lakewood, most MLB players. Number 3, Wilson. Number 2 in the country, Poly. Chase Utley, Tony Gwynn, Moffitt, my favorite, Ollie Brown. I got to coach his grandson, got to know him very well. Milton Bradley, just to name a few. So I'm just here. I had a whole bunch of other things to talk about. I actually have, we had a graphic done, what it would look like. It's a very simple install. It's 650 pounds out in left center. I prepare these drawings. I do a ton of work at USC as a professional. This would get approved in about 2 weeks at USC and built within about 2 months after city approvals. Why it takes 2 years within a school district, I'm not sure, and I'm hoping somebody can help me out and get me some answers. So, yeah, lastly, again, Cabrillo and Jordan, by the way, I'm a baseball parent, coached the little guys for a long time, all the way up until high school. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Simon.
Okay.
If you want to submit anything to the board secretary for us to see,
Absolutely.
you can,
I'll give her
or you
everything I
can email
got.
it as well.
Thank you.
And just a reminder to all who came out to speak on non-agenda items, we can't speak to them because they haven't been publicly posted, but we appreciate you coming out and raising questions and concerns for us to consider in the future. Okay, so we're going to move on to consent calendar A, which again in our new format is item 14 with 14.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, those 9 items. So colleagues, do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion in the form of kudos, call-outs, anything that you'd like to bring to the surface of these consent calendar items, colleagues? Mr. Miller?
No.
Okay. Dr. Benitez? Okay. Ms. Craighead?
Yes. I would like to highlight a $95,000 donation from the Newcomb Foundation. The Newcomb Academy Foundation for a computer and science lab teachers, so thank you to that Newcomb community for their very generous donation and supporting their school in such a big way. And then also, part of the consent calendar is our resolution for school principals. So,
Would you like to read that?
if I can find it real quick, yes. Yes, okay. Whereas October 2022 is National Principals Month as celebrated by the National Association of Elementary School Principals, the American Federation of School Administrators, and the National Association of Secondary School Principals. And whereas the vision, dedication, and determination of a principal serve as mobilizing forces behind any school improvement effort, and whereas school principals interact daily with students and cultivate positive working relationships with parents, as well as certificated and classified staff, and whereas school principals are expected to be educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, budget analysts, facility managers, special programs administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives, and whereas school principals are multipliers of good teaching, key to teacher retention, and second only to classroom instruction among all school-related factors affecting what students learn at school. And whereas the Long Beach Unified School District is recognized as one of the world's leading school systems, thanks in large part to school principals who contribute immensely to high-quality learning environments for students. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Long Beach Unified School District hereby acknowledges October 2022 as National Principals Month and urges everyone to express their deep gratitude to school principals for their vital contributions to thousands of students.
Very well said.
That was a mouthful.
Colleagues, any other comments on consent calendar A? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Benitez?
Aye.
Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so that is passed 4-0-0. And for consent calendar B, I'm recusing myself from participation in consent calendar B. I have a potential financial interest under Government Code 1091 and 87100. My husband works for a subcontractor who's done work for the payees. Vice President Craighead, will you please handle the vote?
Yes, I'd be glad to. I just need a motion.
I move to approve.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, or I hear no opposition or abstention. No, I did hear an abstention. So that passes 3-0 with one abstention.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item 16, staff report, student outcome focused governance, a summary of SBAC growth 21-22 and iReady placements 22-23. Dr. Baker.
Thank you. And I will just, as you reminded the public, that the consent agenda is to make room for student outcome focused discussion. This is the opportunity for us to engage in two really rich presentations tonight. The first is a high-level overview of our SBAC, our Spring 2022 SBAC results, diagnostic one of our iReady results, and then to have a presentation around Black excellence, Black student achievement, programs, processes, and engagement. So I'm going to kick off this presentation, and I'll wait for the slides to come up. And the first thing I'd like to do is just bring us back to our district goals. So each thing that I'm going to share has a connection back to the district goals. That's important because we were not waiting for these data to come out. We were activating upon all of the data that we had in spring and then adding to what we understand about our students as we got more and more of our SBAC results in. As you may have heard, the state delayed the release of SBAC results, but they had been released through a number of other means, including a Public Records Request Act by EdSource, who actually has published multiple districts' results. And so what I'm going to share with you, specific to our district, represents a couple of different ways for us to look at our data. That is, we're going to look at two types of measures. We're going to look at achievement levels, and then also distance from the mean, and I'll explain the difference between those two at first. What this data has shown us corroborates what we know about our student experience the last couple of years. There was a heavier aspect on our BIPOC students, and you'll see that in the results of what they experienced in the pandemic, both in the first year of the pandemic and in the second year of the pandemic. And while we were really hopeful about school last year, we know that our attendance data was very low, below the 90% level. And in some schools, it was really far below that for months on end. We know that between the months of December and February, many schools struggled, frankly, to keep their school. We struggled to keep schools open in some cases based on what was happening with COVID. We also know that when students returned to in-person learning in the fall of 2021, it was a struggle to return to in-person learning. There were many resets, a lot of care for social emotional well-being, and a focus on a different kind of restart, allowing teachers and classrooms and support staff to really have space for welcoming students back and to caring for them in ways that we hope would create a strong pathway back into school. Another thing just to note, the SBAC data there was not the traditional taking of SBAC data for obvious reasons in the spring of 2021. And so the results in many ways are incomplete. In fact, only 25% of students actually took SBAC at the state level. And so there are some nuances of that in our data. And so because you've had this data ahead of time and have had an opportunity to study, I want to share these slides in some ways really just calling into the public space what we know about our student achievement. I'll pause and see as we end the SBAC slides if you want to share what you've noticed, what you've talked to district staff about already, and what you want to bring into public discourse tonight. And then I'll share some slides around Diagnostic 1 of iReady, which is what we're thinking about, what we are using right now in terms of classroom assessment and how teachers, the data that teachers have to take action in their classrooms. All right, so with that in mind, the first slide shows you by grade level the met and exceeded percentages for students at each grade level for English language arts. And so you can look across, there's a cut line at the met, and if you are looking at the colors to the right, you see met and exceeded percentages by grade level. And then the yellow in blue, and then in orange, in grades of orange, you see the nearly met or not met for each grade level. You can kind of watch that pattern continue as we look at our data by race and ethnicity. I'm calling attention, and you're going to hear some specifics around our efforts around Black student achievement. Here is a first opportunity to really look at why we are focused on Black student achievement. And that is that our Black students, our African American students, have been the least well served by our system. And it is an opportunity for us to do everything we can in our efforts to support our Black students. I'll just pause as you glance down to look at race and ethnicity and the outcomes for students at the met and exceeded levels in English language arts. When we look at moving to math, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to look at pre-pandemic, post-pandemic as well. So these are single year data points for SBAC for math and elementary. Again, you can look by grade level and look at the progression from third grade all the way through 11th grade.
Dr. Baker, just
Yeah.
a clarifying question. I know it's implicit in the graph,
Yeah.
but for our community, can you explain what not met, nearly met, met, and exceeded mean within the context of grade
Yeah.
level?
Yes, so in the simplest term, where you see the line, and I don't have a pointer, but where you see the line between the orange, not met, and nearly met, and met and exceeded, essentially met is saying a student has met grade level standards. So when you're in the blue, in its simplest form, when you're in the blue, you are either at grade level or above, and when you're in the orange, nearly met and not met, you are somewhere below grade level. There is a nuance to that, and I'll stay out of the deep details, but there are some students in nearly met that are close or right around grade level, but essentially that cut line gives us that image of at grade level or not.
And just to clarify, so the SBAC's done in the late spring. So I know we're
Yes.
going to talk later about iReady and the implications of that. So when we're talking about grade level, we're talking about the grade that they are in late spring.
Yes, that is correct. It's a single administration. It is not diagnostic, and it's a lagging indicator of student success, which is different than when we talk about iReady. We'll be talking about data that gives a teacher in the moment opportunity to look at first diagnostic, how am I grouping my students, and what do I know about the specifics of what they know and are able to do, in comparison to a one-time annual assessment that tells you at that point in time, towards the end of the year, how they have done to meet the standards of the grade level. When we look specifically drilling down, sorry, my clickers. Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Call out Chris if he can run the slide. So looking at SBAC math by race and ethnicity, you can also see levels of achievement, the least of which are African American Black students have the highest degrees of not met, nearly met, which will lead into the conversation as we talk about Black student achievement and our work that you'll hear about in a little while. Also want to just going back to the district goals. Not only has the district set as district goals, and that means a goal for us at the board level, for all of our levels, for all of our staff who are supporting schools in changing the student outcomes that we are focused on. Not only is there a goal for all students to make a year of growth, but we talk about acceleration and students that are below grade level. So to simplify it, everyone you see in an orange band here, a student who is in these data, will have a separate goal set for them, and it is locally called a stretch goal, or the opportunity to accelerate and achieve more than a year's growth in a single year. So our district goals start with a year of growth for all students, students below grade level demonstrating greater than 1 year of growth, and that's what we're tracking on. And then specifically a goal around Black student achievement, and that is specific to the iReady assessment, which I'll talk about in a little bit. When you look at special populations, so on the left-hand side, you can see what are called special populations, English learners, our English learner and RFEP students, special education students, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students. On the left-hand side, you see the results for those special populations in English language arts, and on the right side for math. I'll just give you a moment to. Our research office has been hard at work thinking about how to display data that also gives us other ways to respond to the data and to really think about the use of data so that at a board level, at a governance level, at a senior team, and managing all of the different divisions of the district, instruction and curriculum and accountability for schools, that we all have other ways of looking at how our schools are doing and how our students are doing. And so one of the tools that they've created, and I probably will not well represent Dr. Chris Brown tonight, but because he can't be here, I am sharing on his behalf. But they have come up with a way for us to look at distance from meeting the standard. And so this is another tool that we have. And what you're going to see in the next few slides are our population of students and how close or far they are below or above the standard. And what they have also prepared for us is an opportunity to look at pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. I will say the data is stark, as you have already seen this data. In many cases, like the trend at the state level, students have regressed 5 years in terms of their progress in academics. It doesn't, we have not, we are working on a learning acceleration support plan because of what we know in these data. So I want to hold both the brutal facts as well as the hopefulness that comes with new strategies, new support programs, a focus on social emotional wellness, and a number of other initiatives that we are up to right now. But you will see the graphical illustration of what 5 years of loss looks like. And so this first slide, what it animates for you is students who were making, all racial ethnic groups making progress in English language arts until the pandemic, and then declined during the pandemic and post-pandemic. So I'll let it roll a couple of times because it by itself tells a story of loss, a story of challenge, a story that also corroborates what we know about the struggle of our families, the persistent work of teachers really trying to make connections across a computer during the pandemic and doing their very best, and still a tremendous struggle for families and for students. This next slide is an illustration, and it's not animated in the same way, but it's an illustration that in 1819, 4 subgroups had met SBAC ELA standard, and 3 had not. And you'll see the difference post-pandemic of how students were impacted from the pandemic in those subgroups in terms of meeting the standard. So 0 is, in essence, the goal. So if you see student growth, negative growth to the left in this slide and positive growth to the right, you can see that there was decline in all students, but a greater decline in students of color, and in particular, our African American Black students. Let's see. Chris, can you advance? Okay, so this, I guess this added, and I don't have my glasses on, so now I'm looking at my slide, and this slide shows, and the last click shows you the degree of decline in student growth. So you can see down the left-hand column from 21, the number 21, down to a -9 for white students. Moving to special populations, in most special populations in ELA declined between 1819 and 2021-22. 2 groups held steady, and so you can see that EL students are English learners, and foster students, the reason why the bubbles are essentially overlapping is because there was a steadiness to their levels of achievement, which doesn't mean that that level of achievement is okay. It means that they did not further decline during the pandemic. And then looking at, from a view, so another animated slide, all racial ethnic groups were making progress pre-pandemic but declined in math. So here's another look. We saw this animation in ELA, and now you can see the same animation in math. So just watching it a couple times with the year sliding and giving you the animated version of pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. And then the same look around math that you saw in English language arts. So 4 subgroups had met SBAC math standards in 1819. However, African American students, the distance from the mean was twice as large as other 2 subgroups. And so here you can see post-pandemic decline. And then from a racial ethnic group analysis, the decline. So I'm going to pause there, and actually before I do some sharing about iReady, just pause for noticing and wondering, or things that you want to explore as a board at this point about SBAC.
Questions, comments, colleagues? Oh, okay, Dr. Benitez.
Thank you, President Kerr. So, one observation and two wonderings, Dr. Baker. So, in general, what this data shows, again, the SBAC data specifically, is that overall our district is struggling, and it's magnified with our pre-pandemic, pandemic, and post-pandemic data. But what I want to particularly highlight as my observation is that our equity gaps were actually magnified. Right, that we had gaps pre-pandemic, and we were working to diminish and eliminate, and so our post-pandemic data shows that we actually have an exacerbation of our equity gaps, particularly for our Black students.
Yeah.
My wonderings, and I know that we have iReady data and then a presentation on our Black student achievement academic initiatives. Wonderings two, one is given that we have targets as a district, goals as a district, if we could sort of elaborate through the presentations on how those goals are either aligned with and or nuanced with our subgroup populations, namely our Black students. You alluded to it, that we have goals of more acceleration and growth for those students, given what I just highlighted, that Black students' gaps in those two areas actually were magnified and or exacerbated. So that's one wondering. The second is around our strategies for addressing that. So ultimately, we want to see gaps at the very least diminished, ultimate goal completely eliminated in the spirit of equity, but there's a conversation nationally and in the state around equity of opportunity versus equity of outcome, right? Here, there's an opportunity for us to address what are we doing given the historical systemic reasons for this, but also in terms of outcomes, if we're just analyzing this data without sort of the why, right, it leaves sort of a big space for wonderings in our community of, how do we know that what we're doing is actually going to address the inequities in the data that we see? So first observation and two wonderings, Dr. Baker.
Yeah, I will share a little bit and also just invite the team in to join me in answering your question. So there isn't a simple solution. There are three things that come to mind as you ask the question, Dr. Benitez. The first is thinking back to the last meeting's presentation around goal alignment. And so all of our data matters at a 30,000-foot perspective in the boardroom, that we're talking about it in the way that we're talking about it. And what also matters is that everything that is talked about here, there is alignment to what happens at the school building, at the classroom building, how teachers get to work together, use each other as resources, that they are supported with professional learning experiences that help them to ensure that they have the skills and feel confident in meeting the needs of students in their classroom. So in the last meeting, we talked about how schools, through our level offices, how they have accountability to the district goals. Each of my colleagues around the table also has an aspect that they are working on that is connected to the excellence and equity policy. So that policy, which we also talked about, have talked about repeatedly, not only does it acknowledge historical harm and historically marginalized students, it also lays out 10 implementation areas that have an aspect of accountability built into them that all of us are working to address our Black student achievement specifically, and Black students are called out in that excellence and equity policy. The last thing that I think about is in using our ARP or our ESSER funds. We did not just think about projects. We pulled together a very strategic learning acceleration and support plan, the second version of which will be loaded up to our website in the next few weeks. But that plan lays out 3 pillars, and actually you're going to hear a connection when the Black student achievement conversation takes place about those pillars from a Black student excellence perspective. Those pillars set forth not only just intervention, but thinking about how we want our district to be in the future. So a huge investment in culturally competent pedagogy, the way teachers are supported and what happens in their classroom for the 6 to 8 hours that they're in their classroom a day, and supporting them in new pedagogy or not necessarily new, but a revised way of thinking about the pedagogy in their classroom, and changing the student experience. That's what Pillar 1 is about, along with interventions. The second pillar is about wellness. It is that investment in thinking about a social emotional learning, a curriculum, but also bringing in resources and a skill set that allows every person that's on a campus with students to focus on social emotional wellness. And the third is around engagement and voice, and that is thinking about how these results also need to be calling in community, engaging families in different ways, and trying new methods of engaging student voice over time. And so those aren't specific answers to success in this moment, but those are some of the ways that we're thinking about in response to what you're asking. And I do want to open an opportunity for others to bring voice to
Thank you,
your
Dr.
question.
Baker. And I know that we're getting more information ahead of us, so
Yeah.
just sort of in anticipation of that.
Is there anyone that wants to add? If not, it's okay.
I just wanted to point out, you said this, we know this is a lagging indicator. This data is catching up on what we knew to be true all along, what teachers were telling us they were experiencing with their students in the classroom from the very beginning. And I'm really appreciative of the distance from meeting standard tool that our team put together, because I think as this data comes out, most school districts are going to see these bars, orange bars and blue bars, and that's how they're going to see their data. But it feels like our team is really trying to get real with the data, and where are we within those blue bars and those orange bars, and how specifically it's impacting our Black students, Pacific Islander students, and Hispanic students specifically. And those numbers of being further away, and even the animation of it, I think is really telling that we're not hiding from the data, and I'm appreciative that we're being so clear with where we need to go from here. So, colleagues, any other questions before Dr. Baker moves on with the iReady data? Okay, thanks.
And actually, the iReady data, I can be briefer. I really want to make space for our Black Student Achievement presentation. Several reminders about the iReady data. First of all, this is year 2 of implementation, and I just want to publicly thank any teacher who might be listening for their hard work. In 2020, we adopted a learning management system because we didn't have a learning management system. That was Canvas. In 2021, we began to implement district-wide iReady. Each of those could take a couple of years to implement, and our teachers have been nothing more than just stunning in the way that they have tried things out, used the data, given feedback, shared with us things that would make it better for them in a classroom, participated in training, and so I hope we'll offer them a lot of grace when we look at this data as well too, because this is all new. iReady data allows for the idea that a teacher can look at their class report and take action. It helps them with resources, it helps them with the opportunity to group students, it gives them ways of thinking about reteach and acceleration. It's really, iReady is also connected to our EL reclassification criteria, which you approved, I think, in the last meeting. So a really important way of also monitoring our English learners and their growth. And then something that's really important to us is that iReady is also highly correlated to the once-a-year data in the spring. So we will be using, and I'll just be specific, it's correlated to SBAC. And so First Diagnostic, which I'm going to share, just quickly share some of the information with you, some of the September administration of iReady. When we get to the mid-year point, we'll be looking at that data as it correlates to SBAC and thinking about what supports need to be in place. Teachers will be able to use that to say what tutoring might need to take place, how might they need to be working with students differently in the classroom setting, because it is quick to come back to them and allow them to activate on it. We also have our research study doing a correlation study inside the district to see how correlated our February administration last year was with our SBAC data. And that's important because we see nationally that it's correlated, but it will be helpful for us to see what correlation exists inside the district. So here is a glimpse at our fall administration of diagnostic data. Something to know about this is that this test was administered about a month early, in some cases 5 weeks earlier than last year. So what we're seeing is 4 to 5 weeks of instruction less, fewer weeks of instruction than last year with this administration. The line moves, and I just want to explain for those who are watching where you see the gray line right above 2 grade levels below. Because in these data, 1 grade level below is really indicating that at this moment, the student was at end of grade level last year. So in essence, on Diagnostic 1, they are at grade level. And so when you look at across the district, 61% of our students on Diagnostic 1 essentially are at grade level. And then moving from elementary, when you see the band, 67% of elementary students and 54% of our secondary students. When you look specifically at grade levels, really interesting data for an elementary principal and those who support elementary principals to be looking at the specificity by grade level. And just imagine at the school level, a report like this can really drive resources, supports, coaching, pulling teachers together to talk about what's working or not working across grade levels. So we're looking at it at a really macro level, but this brings a lot of meaning to a conversation at the building level. At the secondary level, looking at first reading in secondary grades. We administer only through 10th grade. If you're wondering why 11th and 12th aren't there, iReady is through 10th grade, not given at 11th and 12th. And then by race and ethnicity. So when you look at the top, our African American students, highest number of students highest percentage of students below grade level. And then you can look down Asian, Filipino, Hispanic, Pacific Islander, white, and those who identify as other. And then looking at math. So when you look across the district at math, you can see scores by district level, and then broken down by elementary, middle, and high. The blue bands are fairly easy to see when you look at highest percentage of students at or above grade level at elementary, and then slightly declining to middle and declining at high school. And then going by grade level again. So again, thinking of a school level, if you're looking at these data and thinking about grade levels, what this means grade 1 through 5, percentage of students at grade level and above or below, and then at the secondary grade levels. And lastly, math by race and ethnicity. We actually have a special population, so by race and ethnicity first, and then by special population. So this last slide, looking at reading on the left-hand side and math on the right-hand side for English learners, students who are low socioeconomically disadvantaged, and special education students. There's actually a lot that's not here tonight, and so we've had, I think, in previous board meetings and in other dialogue, we've had a lot of conversation about the intersectionality of students, special education students who are also English learners, and wanting to really drill down into dually identified students, something that we can look at. So today is really just an opportunity to get a high-level look at both what was in spring and then what has been since school started, and to know a little bit about what our schools and our teachers have access to in terms of their planning. I know our level offices have just engaged and are in the process of completing the goal-setting processes for all schools, and that often includes teachers, it includes department heads, it includes teams that have the counselor and others who are all looking at their data in service to the specific needs of their school, but also thinking about the district goals, which center a year of growth for students who are at grade level, expecting that students accelerate, and that Black students are a specific focus with their iReady data, looking at growth from last year. So welcome any questions that you can ask of any of us, or a joining from anyone else that wants to jump in.
Dr. Bedinez.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. So one observation and one wondering, and my observation I think is just a confirmation of one of the earlier points that you made. So big picture on the surface, we tend to see the higher the grade level, the lower number of students that are on grade level and or above, right? It would be interesting to see what happened during those 2 years that we were either hybrid or remote at, for instance, the transitional year from elementary to middle school and or middle school to high school, right? Because then it sort of tightens up okay, what does a ninth grader that virtually missed their middle school years or that had them remote, how do they stack up against a 10th or 11th grader that at least had that first year of high school, right? The second is the wondering around the
Dr. Benitez, let me just pause
Yes.
and invite, is there anything that, I know Dr. Lund, you've been working with your schools around goal setting, is there anything you want to share specific to that?
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic effect, as you saw in the SBAC data, is obviously evident within the iReady data as well. How far you can be behind grade level obviously increases as you are in higher grade levels. So I can't be 5 years behind, for example, in 5th grade. So I think that probably that distance that you see, that some students probably fall further and further behind, and how we address that. That's been part of our conversations with our principals and teams around the goal setting that they do, really analyzing who's benefiting from the current program and who's not. And then how do you shift practice, uplifting high leverage strategies that are different with your teams. So that, because if we continue to do the same thing, we shouldn't really expect any different results. So what is different in the action planning that you're doing? What is different in the professional development that you're doing? What is different in terms of processes, in terms of professional development, high leverage team action work that you're uplifting? Reconnecting our IICs, our instruction and intervention coordinators, to the tier 1 work, which is lifting up good first teaching in the work, working with department and grade level teams at the elementary level to really improve practice in the classroom, leveraging our quality core instruction work, our new understandings and expectations, and what good teaching looks like, and how do we incorporate that into our unit planning and lesson planning, as well as the processes that we follow throughout the school year to uplift best practice, to monitor best practice. So we just finished our goal setting this week with most of our school sites, and are now transitioning into our learning walk process, which is a means by which we are visiting classrooms, monitoring the professional development, once again, uplifting best practice in that work through a collaborative process that really helps teachers and administrators really identify what good teaching is. And once again, with that equity lens of who is benefiting from this instructional practice and who's not. And really calling that out in our work, centering our Black students in particular in the conversations that we're having, specifically identifying goals for our Black students in each of the measures that we are capturing from a culture, climate, and academic standpoint. And really understanding that it's the academics piece as well as the relationship piece. So, focusing in on the wellness center work that we're doing, focusing on the restorative work that we're doing in an effort to obviously create safe and healthy schools and strong relationships with students. An example might be really specifically identifying the number of Black students in your school that you're working with, and knowing them by name. If you have 96 Black students in this school, knowing them by name. And really, what is the relationship that you are building within and across their classrooms at the middle school level, just as an example.
Thank you, Dr. Lund. Can I just one additional layer to this? I think it's important at this stage because we're early with the data, right? And we could still pivot in terms of interventions and or strategies. So you shared an output, a specific output, right? 96 students, let's know our Black students by name. Can you share one example, or the team, not back to you, Dr. Lund, of a specific goal for Black students in terms of the outcomes that we're seeing here preliminarily with our data?
Yeah, so one goal, building on what Dr. Baker shared earlier, is around that stretch goal that we're setting for our Black students and really making sure that typical growth is not enough. That if our students are far behind, typical growth won't be enough to catch them up. We can't wait that long. So really calling out that stretch growth for our Black students in particular and monitoring that with each of these administrations of our assessment and really connecting that to practice also. Because once again, if it's not connected to a shift in what we're doing in classrooms, you're not going to see that stretch growth. So really what is being done differently from, like I said, a tier 1 standpoint of good first teaching, but also from an intervention standpoint and making sure that our students that need the support are receiving that support.
Can I ask my intersectionality one? Okay. I actually, does anyone else want to chime in on that first piece? Not all at once, team. The point that you touched on around intersectionality, and it's a wondering, Dr. Baker, for future data presentations, but also specific to what strategies, interventions are working. So we have these groupings in the charts and in the pie graphs and in the data that's been presented. So as an example, I think we as a board, we're left sort of wondering and or operating under certain assumptions or presumptions that when we think about our Latinx students make up the majority of our students, right? So that when we see data for all students, it really is disproportionately impacted one way or another by how our Latinx students are doing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we prioritize or deprioritize, but that we take that into account. The same would hold true, and again, I'm assuming this, I think I'm on, that the majority of our emerging bilinguals are also Latinx students, so that when we see data disaggregated, right, by ELs, we're really talking about a high percentage of those emerging bilinguals are Latinx students. Same, I think, would hold true with our low socioeconomic status students, that those would be, again, proportionally more of our BIPOC students in those categories. So I think there's a nuance there when we talk about targeted, Black student initiatives and or targeted EL initiatives, Dr. Kale, that would be good for us to sort of identify, where those, students may be in 3 or 4 additional categories, which may also magnify the differentiation from the mean there. Thank you.
Colleagues, any others? You stole my intersectionality one.
Sorry.
Sir. Yeah, and I'll just reiterate that I think that's an important piece to know those demographics moving forward. Even what do our 64% of our students who are low socioeconomic students, what do the demographics of that look like comparative to the overall demographics of our school district? So as I think we see these 30,000-foot district level graphs, and understanding that every teacher has a screen on their computer that shows their 20 to 35, 40 students in their class, that shows them a graph for each of their students and the ways that they use that to implement better practices or ask for extra support. So that as we look at this at a macro level, that the consistency within the system of we're going to talk about it here and it moves through the system to our teachers, again, so that they can get the support they need to support the students to do better, I think is important for us to continue to call back that consistency from classroom to boardroom. And the work that you all are doing with your teams and that principals are doing with their staffs and teachers are lifting up and supporting our students as best they can and learning and adapting to meet what could be a really different looking graph of those 30 students. So
I really appreciate that. I mean, it just speaks to, I mean, first of all, I'm totally committed to bringing back some information that does, gives you a deeper demographic look. And I appreciate what you're asking because it also shows, I'm just going to say, the humanity behind the data, and that each data point that brings us to this level is a student behind it, and a student who may not just simply be one of something, who may have many identities that are in the data set that you're looking at. So I'm committed to bringing something back that at least allows us to look in to that further and to see, the complexity of our students. Yeah.
Just thought about one thing, Dr. Baker. Actually, to a point from Mr. Zaid's presentation at our last board meeting, and to a point that's been emphasized here by you several times in terms of the impact of teachers, right? Teachers. So I want to note that the data that we're able to learn from and utilize is not caused by iReady, right? So iReady isn't the reason that we have this, the cause, I shouldn't say, isn't the cause of this data. But by the same token, iReady isn't the solution either, right? It helps us to then develop those strategies and solutions. So I'm speaking to our teachers. We had a resolution for our principals today. In the spirit of, this isn't a referendum, so to speak, on bad teaching, right, as a system. In the same way that when we talk about solutions, interventions, and strategies, this is about supporting the most impactful people in our students' lives, and which Mr. Zaid led our last board meeting presentation with. I mean, we're all on the same page that teachers can change the world, all right? But we need to equip and support teachers to be able to do so. So again, there may be an interpretation that iReady is the end-all, be-all. Absolutely not, right? It still depends on the folks in our classrooms.
Yeah. It's a tool towards action. It is not, yes, and I appreciate that.
Ms. Craighead.
Yes. I'm glad that we are uplifting the part of the presentation that centers on the actual people, not just the students that produce this data, but the teachers also. And in looking at all the data, it's obvious to me that everybody's working hard, not just the students, not just the teachers, staff. Everybody is working hard, and that's evident by the progress. The progress that is borne by the numbers from last spring to earlier this month, just earlier this month. There's already improvement, and that is very hopeful. And if we can focus on that hopeful part, I think it'll be easier to go forward instead of being, it feels like if we get stuck with the numbers, it would be easy to, to let that weigh heavy on us. So if we can focus on the hopeful part of improvements are being made, the work is being done, and have gratitude for the people who are doing the work. That's where we should be.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments, I think we'll move on to our next item. Dr. Baker?
I'm going to suggest a quick recess. We have a large group that are here to participate, so we can get all set, and then, so maybe just 5 minutes, and we can
Great.
be
We'll
ready to
see you
go.
back in 6:35, sorry. Go.
3, 2, and...
Thank you for the countdown, Mr. Zaid. I didn't reach for my gavel, use my phone. We're going to move on to our next staff report. Our Black Student Achievement Programs, processes, and engagement efforts. And Mr. Grayson, I believe you are, nope, Dr. Baker is going to lead us off before Mr. Grayson takes it over.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to kick off the presentation, and I just want to set the stage with sharing a few things. First of all, connecting to our last meeting, which also was a focus on Black student achievement. We had two presentations. One was around district to goal alignment, and we also heard a really rich opportunity to hear about the work of our human resource services and the successes and challenges that they face in diversifying our staff, and specifically in increasing the percentage and number of Black educators. So today is a continuation of that conversation. You have heard some brutal facts about student achievement, most notably that our Black students are the least well-served in our district, and that has been acknowledged in a number of ways. And so I kick off tonight just with complete humility, thinking about this moment in the history of our district and the moral imperative that we feel, and the absolute commitment that we have to thinking about changing, not just changing the narrative, but changing the outcomes for our Black students. That has been put into policy. The excellence and equity policy that our board approved, that you approved on December 1st of 2021, both acknowledged and also laid out 10 implementation areas that we would use to guide the work ahead. And those areas are all being worked on. All 10 of those areas have an aspect of work that is taking place. So tonight you're going to hear a bit about the work that connects to some of those implementation areas around programs, processes, and engagement efforts. We had an opportunity to make a really bold decision to try something, and I want to be specific, to try something, to learn our way into something around our commitment to Black students. And that was to have the first of its kind in Long Beach, a Black Student Achievement Initiative. We had to learn our way into it because we had done some research, we had connected with other districts, and we needed to make this something of our own. And so our trial was a year filled with learning, bumps in the road, opportunities to hear both affirmation and criticism from those who were participating, and that's okay. That's all okay. That is what happens when you are learning your way into something. And so in our Learning Acceleration and Support Plan, we made a commitment of funds, and we'll talk later about those funds, but that commitment came in the form of the Learning Acceleration and Support Plan through our LCFF funding to say, in addition to a focus on quality core instruction, which we know is the greatest opportunity to impact the everyday lives of our students, including our Black students, to focus on quality core instruction, support to teachers, in addition to social emotional wellness investments and focusing as a district on student identity and sense of belonging and agency, that we wanted to do more and to have funds that were on top of all of the other investments that we were making, and to really call in members of the community to help us think differently. And so you'll hear aspects of working with the first year, trying out an advisory committee that was part of the voice that we wanted to bring into what we were thinking about with Black students. You'll hear about some of the ideas that both were implemented from the advisory committee and from district staff. You'll hear from Dr. Levitt today, where she brought her research, her dissertation research to bear in helping to develop a summer curriculum for Black students. You'll hear you're gonna hear from students that had the opportunity to try something out in a 9-day HBCU tour and the impact that had. And so tonight you're going to hear about lessons learned and things that we're trying in the idea of a Black Student Achievement Initiative. You're also going to hear kind of past, present, and future. And so I'm pleased to just ground us in that and to think about the brutal facts of our student data that you heard me share tonight, and the programs, processes, and engagement efforts that are in addition to what we're seeing for all students in our district, because we know, and actually our student said it, and somebody else cited it. When we do right by our Black students, all students will grow. Success is not a pie. If some students succeed, if our Black students succeed, it doesn't take from anybody else. It means that we are doing right by our most historically marginalized students, and all students will be successful. And so with that in mind, I am going to turn to Mr. Grayson to kick off the heart of the presentation on Black student achievement, programs, processes, and engagement efforts.
Thank you, Dr. Baker, Board President Carr, members of the board, Superintendent Baker, my fellow members of the senior team, and members of the LBUSD community. I have a script in front of me, but I'm going to start off with kind of a side script, off script a little bit. I'm a Black man, if it's not evident. I'm the son of a Black mother who wrote letters to the William Penn School District in Pennsylvania, encouraging the staff to engage me in a way that forced them to center my academic progress as opposed to punitive punishment. I'm not blessed to have children yet, but the way genetics are set up, when I do, they will be Black as well. And I say all that to say this. This isn't paycheck work for me. The Black Student Achievement Initiative doesn't necessarily reside in the way that it's written down in a document. It doesn't reside in the Office of Communications and Community Engagement, but the Office of Communications and Community Engagement led a lot of the work. So I stand here as the leader of that department, but also as the person who feels this work deep down in my heart and my soul, and always have and always will. I cringe every time a parent or community member comes to this podium to implore us to do better. Not because I disagree, it's because they're absolutely right. It's the same thing my mother did 35 years ago, 3,000 miles away. I cringe because it hurts my heart that we're still talking about this 35 years later in a place that spans 3,000 miles. That means the country, it's a country problem, but here in Long Beach Unified, we have the same problem. I'm here to provide a brief update on the Black Student Achievement Initiative. You've heard a little bit about the why from Dr. Baker, but I want to go into more depth about the challenges we're facing. Addressing our role in creating and perpetuating those challenges, the programs we've implemented to begin to address those challenges through the diligent work of the Black Student Achievement Advisory Committee, and how we're going to move forward in a way that puts an absolute, undeniable, unapologetic focus on the work that centers and uplifts Black students here in Long Beach Unified. So this is, Dr. Baker kind of did a great recap of what the kind of table of contents for today's presentation looks like, but we'll talk about the why. Why are we placing this focus on Black students here in the district? The year in review. We actually are 1 year to the day, if I'm not mistaken. I talked to one of our staff members who said it was October 18th, 2021 that we had our first advisory committee meeting, and so we are almost exactly a year away from that. So we'll talk about some of the things that have been implemented and were done in that first year, and then we'll talk a little bit about the future. We don't have a grandiose plan. The idea is that we are, as Dr. Baker said, we are in the work, we are doing the work, but there's a plan, there's a much bigger plan that will be implemented in the future that will drive this work. Right now, we're just providing an update. So let's talk a little bit about the why. I want to first read this slide here, because I think it really encapsulates kind of what I talked about growing up in the district that I grew up in, but also why we're doing this work here in the district. The slide says, we must acknowledge the broader diversity in and of the African American experience and celebrate that all Black children are born geniuses. Black students continue to pursue educational excellence despite the many unnecessary obstacles that they face due to constructions and perceptions of race, class, gender, and sexual orientation in America. That's David Johns. I want to also jump into a slide that connects some of the work that we'll be doing. And there's a word that you'll hear throughout this presentation tonight, and I wanted to bring it to the forefront before you hear it. It's not in your slides board, but if you look up at the screen, you'll see a Sankofa symbol. Sankofa is a word that derives from the Twi language from the Akan tribe in Ghana. It translates to, specifically, it is not taboo to fetch what is at risk of being left behind. Meaning we learn from the past, we bring it to the present, and we use what we've learned as we prepare for the future. If you look at the symbol of the Sankofa bird, you'll see a mythical bird with its feet firmly planted, its feet firmly planted, body forward, with its head turned backward. That symbolizes the Akan people's quest for knowledge and the belief that history guides the future. So let's address some of the things about our past that will drive our work in the future. And I'm going to leave this slide up so you kind of make that connection. We're striving to create a more equitable and educational system here in LBUSD. However, we know that we must first acknowledge the systemic and structural barriers that exist that must be dismantled to ensure success for our students. In the LBUSD equity policy that was boldly adopted by the board last December, and you heard Dr. Baker mention it, the district acknowledges that institutional practices have contributed to disparities in student growth, social emotional experiences, disciplinary actions, retention, academic achievement, grad rates, A through G course completion. I could go on and on and on. But it's an overrepresentation of Black students in those categories, or that are failing in those categories. As such a large educational system, we're responsible for the systemic practices in our district that have been advantageous to some and harmful to others. The policy contends that with full implementation, and I say that word full, you guys have been hearing me say it a lot, but full means all of us, and I look each one of the members of my senior team, all of my colleagues, I look you in the eye. With full implementation of those contents, LBUSD is committed to creating an environment in which all students, specifically Black students, will advance with a high-quality educational experience. LBUSD commits to dismantling systemic practices that have caused harm, and in turn develop transformative practices that promote successful outcomes for student groups in the school district. And it's in policy, so that means it's in writing, so we're holding ourselves accountable. We are looking back to look forward. We understand that for our students to be successful, we need to plan, build, and execute programs and initiatives, some of which we've done and some of which are still to be determined, and drive that policy that serves to disrupt those systems that we've been talking about. As Dr. Baker also mentioned, we've been sharing data over the last few board meetings that directly confront our own internal failures, graduation rates, suspension rates, all of those, to all of which point to a set of brutal facts that we know to have contributed to those harmful and unsupportive environments for those Black students. So that's why we've taken this recent approach that catalyzes that systemic change here in Long Beach Unified. We've intentionally placed a strict focus on the well-being of Black students because while LBUSD is one of America's top urban school districts, and as was eloquently stated earlier, the only way for us really to win is for all of us to be winning, and that includes our Black students. So as we place that stronger focus on the Black students, we need to achieve two main goals. One, recognize the full potential of every single Black student in the district, and two, fully commit to district-wide system-level change through the bold and fearless action. So in the spirit of Sankofa, looking back and addressing the things of the past, let's look at some of those obstacles to excellence that students are facing and why they're not. And while they're not exclusive to LBUSD, they exist, and we're committed to fixing them. So what you'll see on the screen are just some of the obstacles to excellence. These are not all of them, but these are 5 of them that we think are extremely important to call out. 1, the opportunity gap, the achievement gap. You've heard it called the achievement gap, opportunity gap. We saw it in the slides that we saw earlier today. If you look at the breakdown between racial and ethnic data, there's one that stands out. It's our African American and Black students. So those significant differences, race, class, gender, seeing the difference in how these students' test scores look. We also use those test scores as predictors of how well those students will do, how competent they are, or how intelligent a student is, or how worthy they are of attending a certain school or university. The preferred term, opportunity gap, refers to the fact that these arbitrary and uncontrollable circumstances in which people are born, such as their race, their zip code, their socioeconomic background, or their status, determines their opportunities in life, rather than all people having the chance to achieve to their best potential. So the opportunity and the achievement gap is one of those barriers to excellence. 2, the dropout rate. You'll hear us talk a lot about our social emotional wellness, but the academic piece also contributes to that dropout rate. In adolescence, academic and personal challenges cause Black students to consider dropping out of school at a much higher rate. Discipline, we talk about that all day. The disproportionate suspension rate, detentions, different types of interventions that are punitive that put students in a place where they don't want to come to school anymore, where they have disdain for their teachers, for their parents, for their teachers, their principals, staff members, causes them to drop out. All these things are interconnected. Next slide. Expectations. Historically, these systems have created environments where lowered expectations have been placed on our Black students, often resulting in things like honors courses in high school or the more rigorous classes not being offered to our students, acceptance rates into 4-year colleges. All of these different things happen when those lowered expectations are placed on our students. Sorry, I was looking for my slide. The 5th one is staffing. We heard a presentation from David last week about staffing and how we're trying to create a more diverse and inclusive staff. But not only do we need the staff to look the way we want them to look, that benefits our students, but they also need to be trained in ways that most benefit our students. Moving on to some more of the content, I wanted to just talk about this PDSA model that you hear us talk about a lot, but what exactly is it? And the reason I want to go over this is because the next slide references this. So PDSA stands for Plan, Do, Study, Act. You'll see it referenced in the next slide. It's a way to test a change that's being implemented. Going through the prescribed 4 steps guides our thinking process into breaking down the task into steps and then evaluating that income, improving on it, testing it again. It's a cycle that doesn't stop. So if we are doing this work, we're always planning, we're always acting on it, and then we're assessing, studying the work that we've done, and then fixing it and making sure that we continue the work. The reason I went through that is because this is kind of a roadmap for success that we believe, a roadmap for the Black student achievement success here in the district. So right now, I think we're in the first 2 steps here, the planning and the doing phase. Plan, the intentional call out of our internal dilemma, the development of a Black Student Achievement Advisory Committee, the allocation of $750,000 to develop the Black Student Achievement Initiative, and again, that kind of bold and fearless leadership that allowed us to do that work. The do part, which we'll hear about in a little bit, that's the creation of those programs and experiences that enrich the experience for Black students here in the district. Example, you'll hear about Sankofa Summer, our Math Collaborative, HBCU support. I want to give a quick shout out to our newest member of the team at HBCU, TOSA here, Jonah. What's your last name, Jonah? Sorry. Jonah McGee, sorry. Jonah McGee is our HBCU TOSA here in the district, and I just wanted to give a shout out to him. But HBCU support, so that's in the do phase, and you'll hear about a lot of those do things later on in our presentation. And then once we do them, and we are kind of in this phase a little bit, but we need to get deeper into it, studying the data and studying what we've learned from that do phase. Intentional analyzing and use of that data to identify different areas of need, and then set plans and actions that will be taken to address those areas. And then lastly, action, creating a plan. So we have what we have now. We have an advisory committee, we have funds allocated, and we have recommendations. But what we need, and what we've all agreed in this room, is that we need a full plan, a longitudinal plan that'll address Black student achievement, not just now, but moving into the future in a cyclical manner. So creation of a plan that addresses those needs, creates measurable goals, etc., and allows us to monitor and adjust and fix things as we need. And of course, using that community feedback to move forward. So with that being said, let's look at the year in review. the 1 year as of tomorrow, as of yesterday, that allowed us to get to this point. So I won't spend too much time on this slide because Dr. Baker already talked about it, but the creation of the Black Student Achievement Initiative was extremely important for this district. The data has been the data for a very long time, long before I got here. But for us to finally prioritize it in the way that we're doing, I think is extremely bold. But we have a lot of work to do. I think it's important, though, to really call out the work that was done in year one. So in that last 365, 66 days, let's talk about some of the work that we've done. And I want to invite one of the leaders of the work that was done, someone who kind of helped to convene that advisory committee, who really worked hard here in the district to make sure some of those programs were implemented. And she's going to take us through some of the things that were implemented in the last year, and we'll hear from students, we'll hear from staff, and we'll hear from some other folks who are involved in our programs. So I'd like to introduce Alyssa Taylor Stewart, who has been really instrumental in some of this work. Alyssa?
Good evening, Board President Kerr, Vice President Craighead, school board members, Superintendent Baker, the entire seniors team. I'm just very grateful to be here this evening with you and to share some of the work I've been so blessed to lead over the last year. In recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I wear pink today, and I honor all those in our LBUSD community who have lost the fight to this terrible disease. And I celebrate the courageous survivors and advocates fighting to beat it. The advisory committee, Black Student Achievement Advisory Committee, which met more than 10 times last year, I mean, it's probably doubled that with the subcommittee work, is composed of passionate and committed parents, staff, and community members. All of the names are listed on the slide, but I'd like to recognize those that are present with us today. If you'll stand, the BSA Advisory Committee members, Jolene Tatum, we have Dr. Kim Tabari, Dr. Lovett, Amy Love, Marissa Reese, Tamia Jones. We're just grateful for your presence tonight. This work is very important to us. It is our passion work. It is difficult work. It is sometimes wrought with pain. It is inextricably connected to our lived experiences as Black parents, educators, and community members. As we continue to evolve as a group, and as we deepen our understanding of the needs of Black students and parents in LBUSD, through community engagement, collaboration with others involved in similar work, and analyzing the data through a critical and equity-focused lens, we look forward to widening our scope and deepening our impact. So let's look at the purpose of the BSA Advisory Committee. Our purpose is to ensure that all Black students in LBUSD achieve excellence on purpose, intentionally. The BSA Advisory Committee is committed to actively engaging stakeholders in issues that directly impact Black students and making recommendations to Dr. Baker and the senior team regarding supports in the areas of academic achievement, social, emotional well-being, and engagement and voice. Extended from the purpose is the role of the advisory committee, including listening, engaging with parents and students to hear the needs and ideas for how to best support Black students and their families, educate, analyze current LBUS data sources and other relevant data, as well as focus group student interviews and student data to inform our recommendations and uplift. I know some people overlook this, but this is hugely important. Relationships, are at the cornerstone of everything we do in our Black community. Create a safe space for parents to connect and support each other. Provide parent training and workshops to promote the success of Black students. And again, advocate for excellence on purpose. So what are some of the things that we were able to implement last year? This is all resting on the work of our amazing committee members, dedicated parents, staff, and community members. We had an HBCU discussion panel, and I'm looking forward to doing more work with Jonah McGee related to HBCUs. We took several buses of students to the Los Angeles Black College Expo. We had an amazing, phenomenal, first ever BSAI symposium in April. And we have taken an HBCU tour, and we're going to be taking some more. And of course, the program that I think has changed many, many lives, Sankofa Summer Academy. So the two programs that will be highlighted today are the HBCU Tour and Sankofa Summer Academy. To share a little bit about their HBCU Tour experience, I'd like to introduce German Sims, a Jordan High School student, and our Jordan High School Business Partner Specialist, Mia Janvier Jones. Welcome them, please.
Thank you for that phenomenal welcome. And hi, everyone. Good to see everyone here. Thank you to Superintendent Baker and to President Kerr and to all the board members who are here. I am really excited to be able to present one of our students. So as was already said, my name is Mia Janvier Jones, and I am the Business Partnership Specialist at Long Beach Jordan High School. And I partner with the Business Engagement and Strategic Partnership team, in case you didn't know. And I understand that we have a lot going on and a lot to say, but I really would like to take a moment to share with you a little bit of the HBCU tour. So, and two more thank yous. Thank you to the interpreters, the sign language interpreters, and to the foreign language interpreters, because everyone should know this, and I'm going to say this out loud. For the interpreters, HBCU means historically Black college and university, just in case somebody didn't know. We might take it for granted. So, shamelessly, I would love multimedia service, thank you guys as well, to run the video if it's available, the first one that is loud and exciting, and then I'll go on from there. Okay, maybe I'm propping it up a little bit too much, but still, it's like, y'all have it? No? I can be here. I know I'm on YouTube Live. I'm literally streaming myself right now, looking at myself. I know, I'm like literally, like seriously watching myself and watching that it's not going forward. That's cool. All right.
There we go.
I love my H in front of my B. My B. My B in front of my C. My C. My C in front of my U. I love my HBCU.
Thanks, board. Oh my gosh. Like, I watch board meetings like a nerd, you guys, and I've never seen y'all clap for anything. Like, what? I mean, well, no, y'all clap for some stuff, but you know, like, what? Not adult stuff, you know? But really, it is about our students and about our scholars. You heard, I didn't even tell them to say HU. It's so important. It's so big. It's so very much here because it is a part of a community that's almost indescribable. And going to the East Coast, it was not my first time, but it was my first time volunteer chaperoning for so many days with so many lovely scholars. And it was a learning experience for the chaperones as well as the students. There were things that they had to learn and emerge from, like, how are you going to get your groceries? You know, because we didn't always have them in a situation where go eat to a restaurant, go eat. They had little kitchenettes and things like that where they had to kind of learn and have these immersive experiences, almost like a dormitory, but with different hotels, different locations, traveling, speaking to different people, dozens of colleges, dozens of students, dozens of experiences. I'll share with you one particular experience where a student had a low GPA, and that can happen to anybody sometimes, but a very low GPA. And the student was on the cusp about going or not because we were a little concerned, like, that low of a GPA, we don't know if you should go. But we gave it a shot, and we decided, okay, let's go ahead and let the student go. The student raised their GPA by 1 full level, not a point. Like, this is literally a whole grade level post going to the HBCU tours. There's something about a sense of community that is gathered from these tours, and I'm not trying to call people out, but I know that there's people in this audience right now who have gone to HBCUs and come back to our community in Long Beach, which I love Long Beach. I don't know why I love Long Beach so much, but I love Long Beach. That sense of community, of self, that they can distribute to our scholars, to our students, helping them grow. I've seen so many amazing changes. I'm going to give y'all my small agenda. In my mind, the next thing was going to be for our other student, our female student, to speak, but she had to go. She's working hard, so much so that she is trying to be a junior cadet. So she could not stay, but I just decided, okay, I'm going to film her, and I was going to, like, be a little rinky-dink and show a film, and multimedia services, like, just airdrop it. We have it. So I'm going to show her video, and after which German will speak, and then after German speaks, I'll come back up, and then we'll get out of here. So this is her.
2. Hello, my name is Leandra, and I am in the LEAPS Academy at Jordan High School. LEAPS. LEAPS stands for the Law Enforcement and Public Services. One day I'd like to become a bounty hunter myself. I was proud to be a part of the HBCU college tour this summer. I think all students should get this opportunity because not much kids out there get the opportunities like this. I hope to travel the world. This was a great beginning. I love visiting Howard University because I met the professor of law, and she explained to me that I need to read all the time and learn a second language. So for that, I got my very first library card this summer, and I actually started learning a second language, which is Spanish. In New York, I remember eating a chopped cheese, like ground beef, cheese, lettuce, all smashed up into a beautiful sandwich. It was topped with a magical sauce, the Aki way. It was amazing. The best sites I saw we visited were like a typical tour, like the Times Square, Statue of Liberty, the African American museums. But it was the first time for me, and it was great to see. It was one of the best trips I've ever been on so far, and I'm glad I got to be on it. So just for that, I would like to thank HBCU Tour and all those out there that made it happen, and including the Unified District. Oh my bad, Long Beach Unified District. Sorry.
Up next, German Sims.
Good evening. My name is German Sims, and I'm a student at Jordan High School. My experiences on this HBCU tour were great. I feel like it changed me a lot. Yeah, it changed me a lot. I feel like as a junior now, really, like, I'm getting more into college now, and I've been looking at a lot of HBCUs, so like FAMU and like Morgan State and Old Dominion University. I've just been looking at those, and it's crazy, cause it's like HBCUs, I can't think of it. What's the word? They got like the same cultural backgrounds, you know? It's like we got similar backgrounds and experiences. It was good because we got to go to like New York Times Square. We went like to Walmart grocery shopping, and that made me feel like an adult, you know? We went to Chinatown, and then we went to Virginia Beach. all of those were good. It was just fun. Like, it showed me like the real world and like how I am away from home. The plane rides was cool. It was just super long. I didn't like it, but well, no, I liked it, but like it was just. But yeah, like all the HBCUs like that we visited, they was like full of energy. They were real welcoming and comforting, and yeah, I liked them. We went to a lot of museums and we seen a lot of statues. We went to like the Lincoln Memorial, Statue of Liberty, and different things like that. But yeah, overall it helped me because after my senior year, my junior year, I got my senior year, and then I go into college, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's really about it. Like.
I love our scholars, and I'm so glad that they were able to just give you guys the glimpse of what happened on the tour, because I know you guys remember your college experiences, and I know you may remember it with different ideas and fondness and different cringe moments, and you're giving them the opportunity to have something that's bigger than themselves, that it's major. The reason why we even have historically black colleges and universities is because there were no access. And now we have students who want the access. They're hungering for the access, and that's what we want to give them. I know you do. And I am just super jazzed. Sorry, I'm so casual now because I feel very at peace being up here, but really glad that you have given the students that chance. And we're rooting for them to continue to move forward, so that's the goal, and I really appreciate your time. It's late, and I know these run late, but they are students, and I want them to, go home, do homework, things like that. So I hope we can do a dismissal that's not like, out of protocol, but at the same time with the consciousness of our scholars in mind so they can keep getting good grades. All right, so thanks again for your time. Oh, and then without forgetting, thank you to Ms. Keisha Irving and to Ms. Raquel Welch-Ketch. She's like totally right here. So thank you to, Ms. Raquel and everyone at the Jordan staff. We appreciate all of you, and we are rooting for your positive decisions for our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we fully understand if students need to get going. They don't need to stay around any longer than you need them to. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It was really important to have you here while we have this conversation.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you to German and Ms. Jones. You guys took me back to 1978 when my mom took me from Evanston, Illinois to Orangeburg, South Carolina, where I embarked on my HBCU experience at South Carolina State, a transformational experience, to say the least. So, speaking of transformational experiences, the summer of 2022, Sankofa Summer Academy, LBUSD's first ever Black student-centered summer academic program. We engaged 90 third, fourth, and fifth grade students in culturally relevant instruction, restorative justice practices, transformational social emotional learning skills, mentorship, and enrichment, all centered around Black joy and Black excellence. The advisory committee used relevant data and identified the need to shift the narrative for our Black scholars from a deficits to an assets-based study of Black history and Black excellence, one which promotes positive identity development. You're gonna hear a lot more about that when our amazing curriculum writers come to the podium. We had several talented and committed staff members. I mean, just amazing. I haven't been in the classroom in years, but walking into the classroom of Sankofa Summer Academy, I was just in awe each and every day. In addition to myself, our support staff included Dr. Pam Lovett, Amy Love, and Chandler Taylor, who's not with us tonight. Our excellent teaching staff included Tamia Jones, who's here. Stand up, Tamia. Marissa Reese, who just earned her GATE certificate tonight. Congratulations, Marissa. Miss Dominique Dillard, Kiara Martin, Portia Smith, and Lori Andrews. I would be remiss if I didn't share that we were supported every single day by Dr. Jackie Williams at Barton and Lori Grady at Holmes, the Holmes principal, along with their summer school staff. They welcomed us. In addition to our district staff, we employed 7 outstanding high school students to serve as mentors for our younger students, as well as classroom support for our teachers. The robust, research-based curriculum was supplemented with enrichment activities developed by, thanks to Dr. Baker for introducing them to us, Reconstruction US. It's a DC-based educational collaborative focused on developing Black-centered enrichment curriculum and activities for K-12 students and families. Sankofa Summer Academy students learned about African roots of stepping, and they learned and performed actual steps and patterns used by many Black sororities and fraternities. Shout out to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, thank you. They also learned how to play spades. I don't know if you guys know, but spades is the Black family game. It is a game for the culture, and it is a game that our leads chose because our students could have an opportunity to play with their mothers and grandmothers, so it's an intergenerational game as well. Additionally, our students enjoyed art lessons with Black artists from City Hearts of Los Angeles, and they participated in an African drumming workshop where they learned about the history of drumming, the origins of each instrument, and they also had an opportunity to play and perform with Baba from the African American Cultural Center of Long Beach. I said transformational, and it truly was. It was life-changing, life-altering, never to go back. As we said, Sankofa, reaching back, bringing forward. This is what we need in our school district, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you for supporting this work, and I know we're gonna see more of it. But I'll stop, and I'm gonna bring on our truly brilliant and phenomenal curriculum writers. I mean, I just have to say, when I read through the curriculum and walked in the classes and watched the students engage, I was like, I wanna be in this class. Like, I learned things that I didn't learn in my past classes in Black history and so forth. So Dr. Pam Lovett and Amy Love, please come forward and share.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am going to try to be brief because we have one of our amazing Sankofa teachers here to share with you, President Kerr, board members, Superintendent Baker, senior staff, and community. I just wanted to share a little bit of the why of Sankofa Summer, why we started with our upper elementary students. As a former upper elementary teacher, that is our first time that we really formally studied slavery. And so many of our parents, I would say, from our subgroup, the academic subgroup that worked on the Black Student Achievement Initiative, as well as our Black parent group from the district, have consistently asked us, can you please make sure that our kids, that our children can see themselves outside of slavery? It seems like that is the only thing that we teach. Our kids think that's the only thing that we were. We were an acted upon, stolen people, not having self-determination, not being innovative, not being creative, right? Being folks that are just prepared to be told what to do. So, being that teacher in upper elementary and thinking about my students and knowing that they're going on to the middle school grades, our Black Student Achievement subgroup focused on academics. We really talked about making sure that all of our kids have access to really rigorous strategies and academics, but also we have to make sure we prepare them and they have the mindset and the understanding that they can be academic and intellectual. And if they don't know their rich history, it's harder to do that. So, Dr. Baker talked about my dissertation, have a passion for Black education. I love studying our history. I love studying, and if we do that, we know as a people how we love learning, how we love to study together in our churches, how we have book clubs. Oprah was not the first one, right? We can go back to the 1800s and before that. And our kids don't know this history. So when we were approved to do this pilot in upper elementary, I really thought about, we really need to make sure our kids have an understanding prior to enslavement. And again, this is something, it's been a pattern. I can go back, Dr. Kale can tell you, with our curriculum equity audit. And when we did our focus groups with our parents, consistently they said, can you please teach our kids something else beyond slavery? So we said that's what we needed to do. So for the Sankofa summer, we said we were gonna go ahead and start with our upper elementary kiddos because we wanted to make sure they had the disposition, the mindset, the skill set to know that they can be successful in rigorous settings in the middle school, that they can participate in the accelerated program, they belong there, they can do well there, they can thrive there. So we said we need to make sure we give them that Sankofa experience and make sure they know that rich history. So we started with a focus on African American studies. Because if I'm an African American studies scholar, I know that I should be able to describe events. I should be able to correct them because maybe all perspectives weren't taken into account, right? So I should know the perspective of the community. And then you know what? If the perspectives weren't all there, I need to correct that. And then I need to be able to prescribe solutions. So that really was a focus of Sankofa, and that grounded the work, and that was the beginning. And then the students went on and studied ancient African civilizations. The kids learned about we are an entrepreneurial people, right? We did trade. We learned about civilizations beyond Egypt. That's something that I learned that we needed to focus on. They learned about famous African leaders, Mansa Musa and Queen Zinga. So they know that we have folks that have brilliant histories, brilliant minds, put things in place that still have impact today, and that when colonization occurred, we were resisting before we even came to these shores, right? We also looked at innovation. And our entrepreneurial spirit and our ability to care for each other when we looked at life in the Americas. And they studied different leaders across the diaspora. So it was important that we not just look at leaders here in the Americas like Frederick Douglass, we also look to Haiti and Toulon Overture, and the ability to resist oppression and the ability to be creative and intellectual and learn and problem solve. And then we moved to the future because we wanted our kids to kind of really come full circle with that experience of Sankofa, and we looked at Afrofuturism our last week. So now you're going to take all those things that you learned and think about how you can problem solve for today and in the future. And so we did that coupled with really analyzing what are the key elements that I need to be successful in our most academically rigorous classes. So we look at our AP capstone classes in 11th and 12th grade, and we work backwards. So those kids engaged in lessons that I'm going to hush now. See, I'm so excited. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to hush now, and I'm going to have Marissa Reese, one of our Sankofa teachers, come up and share. And while she's doing that, yes, we really listened to our parents and our community. We did do a lot of research. I want to make sure I give a special shout out to Dr. Goldie Mohammed, who shared Black Studies curriculum that she's working on developing. And we also checked in with the Burke Collective at Teachers College. They have $3 million where they're working on developing pre-K to 12 curriculum. So they also shared ideas, and they shared resources and really key concepts focused on agency and resistance that we'd want to highlight in the lessons that we develop. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Marissa.
And Tamia Jones.
And Tamia Jones, yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to be brief. I won't take too much time. But I was one of the teachers who was lucky enough to be able to teach at Sankofa Summer at Madison Elementary School. We service students from Holmes Elementary School, so my school site, in addition to students that were all across the district, because we opened it up to every Black student within Long Beach Unified School District that were up and coming 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So in Sankofa Summer, students learned about Black history and culture from African civilizations up and through the Harlem Renaissance. In order to cultivate critical thinking and further develop analytical thinking, gate strategies, and lesson designs were implemented. The use of deductive reasoning lesson designs provided opportunities for students to investigate, to inquire, to research, and to collaborate amongst themselves. These learning opportunities culminated in students being able to showcase their learning and present all those learning experiences in authentic ways. They took the content that they were learning about and they were really able to see themselves in this content, and just seeing the transformation that they felt, knowing that they mattered and that they can see themselves in the learning was inspiring. So students felt valued within the community, the learning community that we cultivated with each and every one of our students. I think being the first year, it was obviously there were some ups and downs, but I think overall, just seeing the joy that the students felt and the parents' just enthusiasm for what they were seeing their students come with was amazing. I think the very first week, one of the parents approached Alyssa and said, you know, this is my child's first Black teacher that she's ever had. And I think that speaks volume that the child was in my class, so she was a rising fifth grader. And to be at a school and never have had a teacher that looked like her, and to be inspired by the very first opportunity for a child to have someone who looked like her was inspirational. So I just think overall the opportunity was great. Did you want to add anything? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Love, and I have the pleasure of being a restorative justice program specialist in the middle K-8 office under the leadership of Dr. Lund. And last year, I was a transformative social emotional learning coach under the leadership of Dr. Simon, miss you. And in that capacity, I had the opportunity to work with Alyssa and the BSAI team as one of the co-leads on the social emotional learning branch of that committee. And so I have to tell you that I come from an ancestry of people who make gumbo. And when we make gumbo, we pay really, really close attention to the roux. So how many know about the roux? So if you don't pay really close attention to your roux, which is the stock of the gumbo, no matter how much quality crab meat you buy at the Walmart or wherever you do your adulting, no matter what the quality of the andouille sausage is or the chicken, if you put it into a pot that has bad roux, it's going to be funky, and people are going to talk about you. So restorative justice is a lot like gumbo. Restorative justice is to the learning community what the roux is to gumbo. So in order for our youth to access this amazing, research-based, powerful, soul-stirring curriculum that Dr. Lovett and her team put together, we have to make sure that we set the container, the learning environment in which that gumbo really can be savored, right? So we're talking about providing experiences for youth where they're seen, heard, and valued, where they know that they belong. And so we're talking about creating the conditions for learning to happen, unlocking learning through relationships. And so I got to develop experiences. This is the heart work, y'all. It's the heart work. Experiences for our youth during Sankofa Summer Academy where they practiced restorative justice, engaged in restorative practices designed around community building, exploring dimensions of their identity, deepening relationships, and expressing Black joy and excellence. And one of the first circle. We did this through circle practice, and one of the first practices we did, we offered students an opportunity to reflect on Sankofa, the image of that bird, looking backward, feet facing forward, but looking backward and thinking about what in your ancestry are you bringing forward into the Sankofa Academy that will be of benefit to the collective. And we gave them this little jewel, because they're kids, right? A little plastic jewel to pass around the circle and to share what is it that your elders and your ancestors have taught you that you're bringing. What is the gem? And they said, they're cute, they're littles, we call them littles. They said things like, I'm bringing laughter that I got from my uncle, because we all have funny uncles. Or I'm bringing my grandmother's smile. And some of them said, I don't know. And our really skillful teachers helped them reframe that you don't know yet, that it's emerging. So it's just a delight and really special opportunity to get to connect with the teachers who brought the program to life, and to go in and to watch the youth practicing restorative justice. And I have to say, too, that one of the unique opportunities, so I'm like big upping Sankofa here, but I'm going to also big up restorative justice while I have the chance. That one of the unique opportunities I think that we have as a school district with restorative justice, as we move further and further into alignment with our hearts and our minds, and bring culturally relevant experiences, particularly for our Black youth, into the school district, is restorative justice is by design and by nature an Indigenous practice that's in alignment with the ways that Black folks live, worship, and celebrate. And so when we bring restorative practices into our schools, we really are in alignment with this mission, this call to action to do better by our Black students. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lovett, Amy Love, Marissa Reese, and Tamia Jones for sharing your stories. Stories are very important. There's so much value in a story, and so we really appreciate you being here to share your story. To further illustrate the impact of Sankofa Summer Academy, I'd like to share a few testimonials. Our teachers, our parents, and the stories of our beautiful children. Our parents. The Sankofa program has instilled a stronger sense of support from the school district for having such a Black-centered program. It also helped reinforce the history and culture I teach at home. It was a positive experience overall. It helped my daughter to learn about our Black history in a classroom with other students who look like her and take pride in that community of learning. I believe the impact will be a lifetime of knowledge and curiosity. The attention of the staff and the camaraderie amongst the kids was very refreshing. I look forward to the next summer academy. I really wish it was year-round. Another one of our teachers shared, as a result of my participation, I have been inspired to research more about my history and ways in which those that have come before me have impacted the way I live today. I will use that to frame conversations with other educators to positively frame Black students' needs and potential. And from our beautiful Sankofa Summer Academy scholars, I love the experience. We learned about great people and our culture. We should do Sankofa again because we learned something new every day and we had fun. Sankofa is a great place to learn about Black history, inventors, and people who made things that are useful, like the light bulb. And I learned that I came from greatness. Thank you.
Thank you so much to that entire team. I hope that this is a lot of qualitative data, but I hope it's making an impact. A lot of this work couldn't have been done, as I said earlier, from the really, really hard work of the advisory committee. So just one more round of applause for all the hard work that was done. To everybody here in the room and the folks that couldn't make it. And I want to just acknowledge that while I stand here presenting to you all kind of as a representative, I kind of think of myself as someone with a journalism degree. So as a newscaster, I'm just kind of broadcasting the news of a really, really awesome group of people. So I can't take any credit for this work that was done, but I'm just here kind of broadcasting the really awesome work that was done. So thank you all so much. So one thing that's important when it comes to the work the advisory committee did and to make recommendations, one of the things that an advisory committee would do is at the end of that time, what was put into place and practice here in the district. And so I have a list of things here that I want to quickly just go through that are in our LCAP for this year, meaning that they are memorialized, they are dictated in a document, an official document that we have to activate on this year. There are funds allocated to it, and we are beholden to activate on these things. I'm not going to stand up here and say that all of them are 100% in motion, but we're committed to making sure that we do the best we can to make sure that all of these things that are in our LCAP for this year that have been budgeted to support the needs of our Black students are activated upon. So you've got our Summer Academy, a repeat, of course. It's really, you've heard how awesome last summer was, so we wanted to make sure that we look at it, study it, and make sure that we do better for next year. Sankofa Saturdays, so kind of taking the similar type of process or similar type of program and doing it as a Saturday Academy, academic enrichment program centered on asset-based study of Black excellence, so very similar to our Summer Academy. Sankofa After School, so taking the process, there's some students that can't make after school, but they'll do that can't make the Saturday program, but they'll do our after school program, and hopefully we'll have some that do both. Sankofa Mentorship Program. So we have partners here in the community that focus very specifically on mentorship, and we all know the importance as we talk about the people that came before us and our ancestors, but also just having a really strong mentor is something that is proven to improve not only the life experience, but even the academic experience of a young Black student. And so partnering with members of our community that focus on mentorship will be really important. Sankofa Parent Workshops. So we are currently planning a series of parent workshops where we just engage local parents, local Black parents, to really not only provide them with culturally relevant information, but to listen to them and to hear what their perspective is of the work that we're doing. And then, as you all remember, we had our Black Student Achievement Initiative Symposium last year at Jordan. Earlier this year at Jordan. It was a huge success, but we have all had heard our feedback. We heard the praise, but we really have some aspirations of making it bigger and better and more impactful for next year. So we hope to repeat that event. In addition to the things that are in the LCAP, there's some additional advisory committee recommendations that I believe you heard the last time we did our board workshop here in this room, but I'll just reiterate, and these are also some things that the senior team is considering for moving forward. So building partnerships, obviously, within the community, creating a database of Black student-centered clubs, activities, and sponsors, identifying a Black Student Achievement Initiative liaison at each school site, developing a comprehensive communications plan around Black Student Achievement, Black Student Achievement Initiative webpage, increase the BSAI team to include grade level TOSAs, teachers on special assignment, and then also organizing a National Alliance of Black School Educators chapter here in Long Beach within the district. So these are all recommendations. We think they're awesome recommendations, and again, we will work really hard to do our best to implement what we can. So when we talk about Black student achievement and the future, I talked earlier about putting together a plan, making it longitudinal and making it something that doesn't just include the advisory committee, but includes a much larger group of community members, of city leaders, of folks in our community that can help us really create this arm, almost like an arms around the entire thing, a holistic level of support in our community to focus on Black student achievement. So I took what the advisory committee already had in place, which was the 3 pillars: the academic, the social emotional wellness, and the engagement and voice, and kind of morphed that into what would it look like if we really had a successful, holistic approach to Black student achievement here in Long Beach. And so there are these 3 pillars here: academics, social emotional wellness, community and family engagement. And we've been here for a long time. It's getting late, so I won't go through all of the things in this list, but I just invite you to look at them. Obviously, in the academic side, the slides that we saw earlier during Dr. Baker's presentation are self-explanatory. They tell the story. Sorry, I didn't change the slide. There we go. They tell the story. So those academic outcomes are going to be huge when it comes to the Black Student Achievement Initiative. But as we heard from our other staff members, specifically what Amy Love told us and what Dr. Lovett told us is that you can only focus on academic achievement so far without having that social emotional piece and the community and family piece. One doesn't work without the other, right? We're all going to be in that roux together, and if the roux is wrong, what'd you say? It's going to be funky? We don't want the thing to be funky, right? So the academic support is going to be huge, but just as huge as that social emotional side. And when we talk about community and family engagement, there's just so many partnerships that are waiting to be developed here in Long Beach, and we are in the process of formalizing some of those relationships. We're looking at developing MOUs with some of our local partners, and so it's one of those things that I don't want to stand here as a newer member to Long Beach Unified and say they don't exist, but I can say that we need to work harder to make sure that not only do they exist more, and they exist in a more transparent and public way. And so last but not least, we can talk about some of the things that we have upcoming. I don't have exact dates on here. We will get them to you, members of the board and members of the community, but there's a few things, and I'll go from left to right. So Black Long Beach Education Forum. The idea behind that is just to bring people together and to talk and to listen. What is it that the community wants and needs from us? And when I say community, I mean not only the folks that we hear from all the time, but the folks that we do not hear from and that we haven't heard from. Here in my communications department, we have a really big focus on reaching out to folks that have not engaged with us before. And so that's going to be instrumental in getting out those voices, those Black voices to come and hear from us, but also to have us learn from them. The Sankofa Parent Village. So monthly, this is also something that is in process. So monthly parent village sessions that are informational meetings that are in collaboration with UCLA. Those are designed to foster a community of care and support for parents. HBCU tours, which you've heard about earlier. We're partnering with a local organization that organizes those trips from beginning to end, and it's just really awesome. You see the impact that it's having on those students, and I'm really excited about that. It's hard for me not just to be standing up here shouting out Florida A&M University as much as I possibly can with all the HU shouts in the room, but Jonah is also a Florida A&M graduate, so shout out to Jonah. 2023 wellness event. So we have a team that is planning a wellness event designed to promote health, well-being, and happiness, curated by LBUSD staff and community partners working together. We all know that wellness is just is so important nowadays, especially post-pandemic and just in the environment that we live in. So centering Black wellness is going to be really awesome. And then last but not least, LBUSD community visioning. As you've heard, and as many of you have either attended or have seen, we've been doing visioning, strategic planning for the last few months, and we're going to be doing it into 2023. And the idea behind this is just that we don't leave out our black families. We're getting so much important data, having such good conversations with our community, with our students, and with our staff, that we have a plan to do one specifically for our black families here in Long Beach. And with that, I thank you all for listening. I thank the staff who came and presented before me, and I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Justin. Colleagues, Mr. Miller.
All right. First, I just wanted to thank all of the presenters for their hard work in putting this on today. But more importantly, all who participate in the uplifting of our black students in the Long Beach Unified School District. I think they all deserve a round of applause. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the presenters today, both in public comment and who presented, in regards to the passion and some of the frustration centered around the numbers that we saw. From our CBAC to we know our suspension rates and et cetera. All things considered, those emotions were exacerbated by communication or the lack thereof when it comes to the BSAI. But all things considered, this is not about the shortcomings of this early part of the process, but more about making sure that we capitalize on this moment. This is an opportunity to support our black students and to do a course correct. In all honesty, it's going to be hard. And as a man from the African American community, I can proudly say that we are no stranger to things that are difficult. But in accomplishing difficult things, it requires a couple of, since we're talking about gumbo, let's call it ingredients, right? The first ingredient I would say is motivation, and those motivators are usually equity and equality. The second ingredient is a system that is restructured around accountability. But the most important ingredient, and it's almost like the fuel for this process, it's got to be love. It's always got to be love. And when I talk about love, love is an action word. All right? And so when we have these conversations and we talk about the opportunities for our black students and we center it around love, it has to be backed by action. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to hold this challenge to the admin team here and to my colleagues that with all the information that we received today, we understand this as the baseline of where we need to go. And we restructured our meetings around these opportunities in this exact moment. But all things considered, I look forward to using this data, this information, the potential goals that we set, and the PDSA logic model that you suggested to address some of these issues. And I wanted to give a special shout out to my brother back there, Mr. McGee. When you're planning these college tours, please make sure our kids don't have too much fun at Spelman and Morehouse. Thanks again, everybody.
Dr. Benitez.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Miller. I'm going to build on your comments and add my thank you and celebrate and praise the important work that's being presented here, particularly from the involvement of our community members in this work. Especially like the reference to Toussaint Louverture, right, who overthrew the French, basically, from Haiti, right? But I think Dr. Tabari today, excuse me if I don't get the quote right, Dr. Tabari, around being soft on people, hard on systems, has left me thinking about the presentation and about the data. And here's sort of my take to build on Mr. Miller's point. One of my colleagues shared the importance of hope and future thinking, and I got a chance to participate in our first session of our strategic planning session Friday evening with about 80 folks in attendance and a student. We were asked to share out some initial thoughts, and a student, I'm paraphrasing here, shared that, just kind of put the group to task, that whether our focus on the future is a means to dismiss our current conditions, right? That she understood the importance of the future, but whether that was a mechanism to not address current inequities. And I've been thinking about that since Friday. I've been, thinking about what was shared here today, and about my colleague's, point about focusing the importance of hope and futures thinking. And I think if we're going to lead with building on the past, addressing the present, and the future, I think that's also based on coming with a sense of urgency around outcomes. Let me share what that means, what I think that means in this, I think, pivotal moment for our district. One of the slides that stood out to me from the data presented here today is from 2019. There was a 99-point differential between our highest performing white students and our lowest performing African American students. 99-point differential. This is pre-pandemic. And I'm looking specifically at distance from meeting our math standards. 4 years later, in our 2022 snapshot, it increased to 107. Right? We have 107 differential in points from our highest achieving students on this assessment, our white students, and our lowest achieving students. I don't even know what negative 91 or 92 means in the larger scheme of things. We have an idea, right? We can infer what that means. But I'm speaking to the urgency of outcomes here. We don't have time, right, to quote unquote eliminate a 107-point differential on one assessment, right? We could go down the line on all of these assessments. So I think part of the historical acknowledgement that team that shared here so eloquently is that we have provided little hope for our communities, given that we were already at a 99-point differential 4 years ago. Now we're at a 107-point differential. So wonderful. Again, I can't praise enough the importance of and the significance of the connection between the social and emotional learning and our academic outcomes, if we're going to talk about opportunity gaps and achievement gaps. But I think from my perspective, if we are going to generate hope, instill hope, inspire hope, and reflect that in our rhetoric, that it's got to come with tangible connections of the importance of the social emotional learning, whether that's through our restorative practices, through all of our TSEL work. But I think what I'm most urging our team to come in about is those outcomes that, that one highlight that you shared in terms of a goal today, Dr. Lund, right? That I think that's the piece for me that needs to be built up and out. And I know this is the initial phase, but I think that, to me, either perpetuates the lack of hope, the feeling of lack of hope. And there's always hope, right? But you start kind of to become dismissive. If 4 years ago we had this data, now it's worse. We have sort of the initial workings of a plan. It's not to dismiss the work, but I think what needs to be built in through the analysis of the data is like those tangible, either quarterly or semester or biannually measures that then we can share in celebration with how important these efforts and these projects are, but as a testament that we're doing right by this equity policy, by the intent and I love the intentionality behind the work, and then then we can talk about future and hope. So just like Mr. Miller, I'm calling in our community members, our exec team here, and I'm being soft on individuals here, hard on systems. We have a monumental moment before us. I've seen the latest EdSource data comparing LBUSD, and when I started in 2018, not to knock, because most of the team here was around in 2018, but we led with sort of, look, we're doing better than everyone else, all right? But we were doing horrible, right? The nation is doing horrible. We're in a monumental moment here that our 107-point differential can't be 2 or 3 points at a time that we make up ground here. So with the hope, again, my call comes an urgency of outcomes, and I'm calling in our team and our community members, especially those ones that have not yet participated, not yet, right? To not just feel that they have to carry the burden of holding us accountable, that we hold ourselves accountable to this work. So I appreciate that part of the work. Lastly, here's my question. We're lifting up students, we're talking about students, we're centering Black students. I think the best part for me tonight was that we had student voice here. Just the consideration that in these spaces that are being mapped out and being built on, including the advisory committee, I don't know if there were any students there in that capacity, but I think it's important that we did hear a video from our Black Student Achievement event last year, and in that video, consistently what Black voices from students shared is acknowledgement, value, included. And so for me, the bigger question is how are we connecting explicitly the importance of this work to those outcomes that leave little opportunity to dream and to hope and to look to the future.
Ms. Craighead.
I agree with your sense of urgency, your comments regarding the fact that we cannot wait, that we have to make changes now. The elephant in the room is that we have had a setback. Everybody has had the same setback. We are recovering from our schools being closed and how those closures affected our students in different ways. And we know that our students that have been historically marginalized and come from lower socioeconomic families, those students have suffered more because of the setback with the pandemic. I feel hopeful because I see the changes that are being made. It's not a complacency. It's not we're going to sit back and do the same things we've always done. What we've heard tonight are actions that have been taken, that are going to be taken, and you're right, when we hear from students, that helps us center the conversation and helps us get to the point of why we're here and what we do, and it's for them. And you're right, there is urgency, and I believe that everybody in this room, whether it's community members, teachers, staff, the board, we are all in here for the same reasons. We all want our students to achieve, and it's how we do that that's going to make a difference. But uplifting this, Black student achievement, uplifting all these efforts that are being made, we're going to see the benefits of that. We're going to see the outcomes. I know just from having the opportunity to visit Sankofa in the summer and seeing those kids take pride in who they are, that was priceless. That was fabulous. And I will never forget the boy that I met who wanted to show me his artwork, and he depicted himself as a jewel as a gem, a sparkling gem. He was in a diamond shape with a happy face, sparkling, and I thought that is a benefit to that program. I don't know how he considered himself before he attended that program, but I know what he thought of himself after he attended that program, and he had a very high opinion of himself, and rightfully so. So that's why I feel hopeful, because I see the changes that we're making. I see that we're not doing things the same way, and we've had obstacles. We have to acknowledge that we've had these obstacles, and we have to acknowledge how it's affected our students' ability to not just, get ahead, but to catch up. And we're putting the focus on getting these kids ahead, acceleration, and not just being complacent with, one grade level, but let's move them forward 2 and 3, because we see that's what's needed. That's what we have to do.
I want to thank all the staff who presented tonight and for your deeply personal stories, all of you, and how this work is about who you are and who your families are, and who you've been to our students long before we were asking you to call out their greatness in this way. So thank you for sharing those pieces of yourself that you've clearly brought to the kids, into the classroom, and to the work. This is the moral obligation of our time, of this board's work, of this staff's work. And I am grateful that we have leadership that is embracing it, that isn't saying we're better than others, but it's okay, because, or it's all kind of bad, but it's okay because we're doing better than others. But that we have a leader and a leadership team who are embracing the really hard data and moving forward. And so, Mr. Grayson, that idea that we are firmly set our feet forward and looking back, it's that acknowledgement of where we've been. And it's really clear where we've been, and it's not been great. It's been awful. And so acknowledging those pieces as we move forward, I think, is critical. So I want to thank not just the superintendent and senior team, but Mr. Grayson, for your leadership, for our teachers, for your leadership, Dr. Lovett, all of you who are calling into this work and building the infrastructure within the system to keep it sustainable. We've always talked about not just doing equity on the side or having projects that we overlay the work, but that we are the work of equity. And the hard part of this and the fierce urgency of the work, it has to be done now, and we have to build the infrastructure that keeps it permanent, that it doesn't dissipate in a couple of years. So when we've run out of, accountability money or one-time dollars, that we have built this into the system, because the system has to change, and the work that you guys are presenting today is the foundation of the change within a system that is really hesitant to change. So thank you for pushing the system and helping to lay the groundwork for change that we want to be permanent change. We want this to be who we are. So thank you for the term evolving fearless action tonight, and excellence on purpose. That isn't just what we want for our students, it's what we want for the district. And the work that you all continue to do in community with students and staff and parents is the building of a foundation that is necessary, and a foundation that the system has resisted for a really long time. So I'm glad we're moving stuff to the side to create a foundation for this work. We talk a lot about student outcomes focused governance, and I just want to bring it back here. And Mr. Zaid, you said it beautifully at the end of your presentation, is we can't judge ourselves on the inputs, on the work that we're doing, that the stuff we're doing tonight, the stuff that we talked about, is necessary and important, but we don't get to just say, yay, we're doing these things. We need to see the outcomes with our students. We need to see it plainly in the data. And I'm hopeful that you'll share with us that when you see it in your students, because you've made a difference for them, you have data in your classroom that you can bring to the board. So when we see the big stuff, you're making a difference and it's changing lives. So thank you for keeping us informed of how we're doing and how we need to support teachers better to continue to change students' lives in that way, because that is what student outcomes focused governance is. It is, how are the children? What do they know and what can they do? And so we continue this work, I think, and we continue this conversation with gratitude for what has been done and with excitement and hope and urgency for what we do starting even tomorrow or when we leave the building with an email that gets sent. So I think we'll finish there and we'll take a little 5-minute break just to reset, and we will continue the meeting. Thank you everyone for being with us tonight.
Forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need the staff to do the same.
Quick break, we'll be back. We are going to finish up. We are on item 17, superintendent items. Dr. Baker.
Thank you. Item 17.1 is just information only. It's a clean Williams report with 0 complaints and therefore 0 needs for resolution. The second item is, as a representative from Student Placement Services, I'm recommending expulsion of the following student. Student ID number 390. This student would be expelled under Education Codes 48915C1 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after June 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. We're moving on to new business. Approval of Williams textbook sufficiency.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Adoption of initial reopener bargaining proposals from the Teachers Association of Long Beach, K-12, and CDC Head Start to the Long Beach Unified School District.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Item 18.3, adoption of initial bargaining proposals from the Long Beach Unified School District to the Teachers Association of Long Beach, K-12, and CDC Head Start.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I wanted to catch the guy who's standing at the door. You've been here the whole time. You might as well give us a little bit of intel.
Put down
Mr. Miller.
Put down the backpack.
Miller's not letting anyone off the hook tonight. Wow.
You were 2 steps away, man.
I was.
Sorry about that.
I don't think I've ever seen that here, Steve. Not let him leave tonight.
Do you have a question for him, or just?
Just give us a little bit of background on this process. I'd appreciate it, sir.
Okay, so what
Take
happened?
as long as you want, Steve.
I'm going to be very brief. It's the similar process that we went through when we approved CSCA's initial proposals last time. We're required by law to sunshine initial proposals, particularly because they involve finances and impact costs through the district. And so we have 2 that are before you. One is for our K-12 unit, which is our teachers, our credentialed teachers who work at our K-12 sites. And then the second one is working with our CDC Head Start, which works with our early learning students.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
And sorry to stop you. I just wanted to say goodbye.
I believe we had a motion in the second already. Any further discussion or questions for Mr. Rockenbach?
Steve, since you're up there, I have 3 more comments. No further discussion, President.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Thank you, Mr. Rockenbach. Report of board members and announcements. We're going to do these together. So if you have your board report and there's something you want to announce, you get to do it all at one time. So we'll start with you, Ms. Craighead.
I'm going to keep it brief. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Probably a lot of you from the crack of dawn, so thank you. Thank you to the interpreters who, they're still on their feet, honestly. Just quickly, I attended a meeting for Long Beach Council PTA unit presidents, the UPS meetings, and a special guest was the California State PTA president, Carol Green, and she talked about the value and benefits of volunteering. So I would just like to encourage everybody to volunteer. It's good for both your mental health and your physical health. Volunteers live longer, they're happier, and it's a nice way to create relationships. And that is my report for tonight. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Miller.
I'm going to be super brief. I don't have much in regards to announcements, but I did just want to make everybody aware of maybe the impact of social media. One of our YBS groups at Wilson High School has their own Instagram, and they do such a good job of posting information about successful students. And they had a post the other day that I had to send over to a friend where they are singing the Black National Anthem, and let me tell you, they're singing their little hearts out, man. They did such a good job. So I was just really, really impressed. And so, the part that I can tell with that social media post, and the reason why I'm sharing this, is because you can see that sense of community. And I think that when we talk about Black student achievement and us creating spaces for folks within the Black community to convene and create a village, it is clear that at Wilson, they have at least the infrastructure built for that. And I would hope that we could almost duplicate that model of success that they have at Wilson at some of our other high schools and middle schools.
Dr. Benitez.
I'll also be very brief, President Kerr. So I'm going to plug our LBUSD podcast. Recently, we've had Dr. Brown do an interview on with our disability community advocates. Alan Risen did one on Measure Q. Diana Michelson, one of our student green team leaders, has done one. So I had an opportunity to interview one of our student leaders at Cabrillo on language justice and multilingualism. Mr. Idson, any idea when that may air?
Next Wednesday.
Perfect. There you go. Next Wednesday.
He just pops out of there, just whenever we need him. We love it. I will be brief as well. I want to thank the high schools for high school open house, or back to school night, which happened after our last meeting. And I was thrilled to be at Jordan, where they center student performance. So again, most of you who have been there, you usually get greeted by the drum line. The band was playing. We had folklorico dancers, the drill team, and all of that to really set the tone for the evening. And they combined it with their students who won honor roll awards in the spring. And so a whole night of celebration. So to all of the high schools, thank you for welcoming our families back to your campuses and creating that sense of community for them. I appreciate it greatly. Speaking of Diana Michelson, I don't know the exact name of the award. I didn't get it, but she did receive I think it was an International Youth Award around environmental activism. So congratulations to Diana on that. And that's my report for the night. Dr. Baker.
I will be equally brief. Just two shout outs and expressions of gratitude. One is to Dr. Kale and the OCIPD team who enabled you to approve a clean Williams sufficiency tonight, which was huge work. I think there are dozens of her staff who participate in everything from ordering to assessing to taking books all across our city. So thank you, Dr. Kale, and your team.
Dr. Baker, can you remind us, I think it was either last year or the year before, Dr. Kale literally said they were running across town at odd hours of the night.
They still were. Yeah. Same thing. So secondly, and Dr. Benitez, you mentioned this, but we had our first guiding coalition, which is one stage or one part of the strategic planning process. This is the visioning process. And so I just want to thank Dr. Salazar, Viva Mogi, who were critical to the success of that, interpreters that were there to provide language access to community members, and about 80 to 90 of our community members and staff who were there by recommendation, by nomination, and about 20 of our students who, some of whom thought they might only come Friday night, and lo and behold, they were there Saturday morning wanting to come back. It was 12 hours of centering students at all of our adult tables, not having students at their own table, but really bringing that voice right into the decision-making and input process. We heard some really incredible stories of resilience and some things that were hard to hear. And both the urgency of the moment, I know people left the room feeling urgent about the moment, and also a number of ways that we are looking at the horizons, meaning what is right now, what is next to do, and what is the farther horizon for us. So that guiding coalition meets again December 1st and 2nd. I know I, as well as members of the team, and those, I got a number of emails from community members who were so glad to have participated. And just want to thank Prospect Studio. They are incredibly professional, focused on students, and focused on continued outreach into harder to reach communities. So looking forward to that. And then the last meeting of that guiding coalition is in February. So the planning continues. You'll get an update in the next couple of board meetings as well. So thank you for a great night of leading forward, thinking about what is right now and what the future holds for us.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. And I'll tell you, I had a couple people reach out. I was at nonprofit fundraiser, and I had 2 people come up to me who were participating in it, who some are longtime former parents in the district and aren't parents anymore and participated as community members, and they were so appreciative of the process. So even folks, I wasn't in the room, but folks reached out to me to tell me what an important process it was and how grateful they were to be a part of it. So thank you to all of those folks for stepping up and saying yes to that process. And with that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, we'll see you back here on Wednesday, November 2nd. Thanks all.